What's going on, everybody? Good morning and happy Friday, March 8th. DK Show up on the air. Your radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Also available online. Stream it up at sportstalk1051.com. You got your smart speakers, the app, and the video stream up and rolling right now. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Appreciate you making us part of your starts on this Friday morning. What do we got on the good old game plan for us this morning? Hey, first of all, got girls basketball, state basketball. Congrats goes to Baldwin Woodville and McDonald Central on a very successful season. Their games, both teams falling yesterday. McDonald Central falling late last night in a very, very tight game against Cuba City. But nonetheless, both of them falling. But congrats goes to both those ball clubs on a very successful season. Boys side, we had some boys prep games last night too. And we got a few local teams who will be playing on Saturday to potentially punch their ticket to go to the States. River Falls, Elk Mound, Cameron, and Withy all advancing to move on. So lots of basketball to be talking about this morning. Heck, even UW Stout women's basketball team continuing their run in the national tournament. Their Sweet 16 game is tonight, going up against the Transylvania Pioneers. Transylvania Pioneers, and their logo is a bat. Go figure. But that game is at Whitewater tonight at 5 p.m. So, shout out to all the local teams who are still in it right now, and best of luck to those teams too. Badger Hoops picking up a win last night against Nebraska. Although it started pretty slow for Wisconsin. I mean, there was a point, and I'm like, here we go again. And finally, Wisconsin, right before the end of the first half, they go on a 15-2 run and go into the half, leading by 2, and then just kind of taking over in the second half there. But we got Kamari McGee that was back for the Badgers. He provided a little bit of energy off the bench, a nice boost off the bench. I mean, you hate to say it, but it was this team missing Kamari McGee for the longest time. First time he's played since January. So just like, man, was he maybe a missing piece for this team? AJ Storr continued to do AJ Storr things. 19 points, 7 rebounds for him. The freshman Blackwell coming off the bench as well. 17 points for him, and he was getting to the free throw line, man. 9 of 10 from the charity stripe. Badgers overall stunk from the free throw line, 15 of 23, but at least he was 9 of 10. Stephen Krull was 4 for 4. Stephen Krull also putting up 17 points and 11 rebounds in the win. It was senior night. Tyler Wall coming off of a game where he had 20 points, only 3 points for him last night. Badgers will finish up the regular season on Sunday against Purdue, and right now they're tied with Nebraska and Northwestern for the third seed third seed Big Ten Conference standings. So something to kind of pay attention to right now. Nebraska's the 3, Northwestern's the 4, Wisconsin would be the 5. So if you want a double bye, you got to be in that top 4 there. Wisconsin currently holding on to that 5 one, but like we said, they got Purdue and Nebraska. If you're kind of doing a little bit of scoreboard watching, Nebraska's going to be at Michigan, and Northwestern plays Minnesota tomorrow. So might be a little tough. Might be a little tough to get her done, but we'll see how it all plays out. So we'll talk some hoops. We got Marquette also going to be finishing up their regular season this weekend as they take on Xavier tomorrow. So plenty of hoops talk as we get set for conference tournament. I know on the women's side, they're in their conference tournaments. Some men's teams, they're in their conference tournaments too. Heck, Milwaukee, UW Milwaukee. Could they make a late push here? Possibly, maybe. I don't know. But we'll talk some college hoops coming up this morning. Bucks are also back in action tonight, taking on the Lakers as their West Coast trip continues. going to be another late one, 9 p.m. tonight. So if you're hoping to maybe catch that game, it's going to be a little late. It's going to be a little late there. But their second of their West Coast trip here. Second game of their West Coast trip before they got the Clippers on Saturday, Sacramento next Tuesday. Then they return home for a couple games too. So, but we'll talk a little Bucks, talk a little hoops there too. Chris Middleton finally talking a little bit here too. Some comments. Apparently, he's just kind of waiting for some swelling to go down in that ankle of his, and then hopefully he'll return to the court at some point soon. You'd like to get him some minutes before the postseason. I mean, I really hope that he's out there before the postseason begins to kind of knock off some of that rust and such. But man, kind of wonder what's how long he's going to be out at this point in time. So, but we'll talk some Bucks. We'll throw maybe a little football chat in here too. I got to imagine that we're going to find out this weekend. You know, the David Bakhtiari thing, and I know Brian Gutekunst said at the league meetings, you know, don't have to make a decision until we have to make a decision. Well, your decision is going to have to be made by next Wednesday, the 13th, new league year. So you know what? Don't completely ignore it. Could be a Friday news dump. We've seen that how many times? You know, I'm not saying it's going to happen today, but we've seen that countless times, not just in sports, but everywhere else. That typical Friday afternoon news dump, you know, maybe at 3:00 today. That way, you know, media stuff is kind of wrapping up for the weekend and all that. So wouldn't be surprised if it somehow came down today or maybe even over the weekend that Packers will finally be moving on from David Bakhtiari, which, I mean, let's be I hate saying finally moving on because, I mean, Bakhtiari, when he was healthy, was freaking good and one of the best left tackles in the game. And I honestly feel like David Bakhtiari was on a Hall of Fame path. Now you kind of wonder with his injuries and such that derail it. Although I know that they've been more open now to players and such, but I felt like he was on that path, kind of like a Nick Collins a little bit. Felt like that. It stinks that his career got completely altered in a freak ACL injury that happened in practice at the end of the season. And didn't think it was that bad, but again, how many times has Dr. Crow told us, you know, it's never the same for everybody else, but the recovery and him trying to get back on the field, it just stinks. It sucks for the guy. So, but I think we're going to find out by this weekend. I think so. But I'll be completely wrong at that. But we'll chat a little football and such as we get set for the free agency period. We're seeing some teams starting to sign some players, starting to keep their players. Deadlines spur actions, right? But we know that safety market right now, you've got a boatload of talent. A lot of options for that safety position. And if I'm Green Bay and I'm looking at this, man, and I'm thinking, you know what? We need a couple safeties at least. Is this the year? If there was a year that you were going to maybe double dip and grab a couple, it might be this year. You got a lot of guys out there, and you're going to have a couple of them that are going to lead the pack of contracts. Xavier McKinney's probably going to get the biggest, if not one of the biggest contracts for a safety this offseason. But with the other options out there, maybe it won't be as big as initially thought because you've got other safeties. The pool is a little bit bigger, supply, demand sort of thing. But I just wonder if you're Green Bay, do you double dip in that thing, similar to when they brought in Za'Darius and Preston, and then they drafted Rashawn? Would they do something similar with the safety position? Something to kind of keep an eye out for and keep tabs on, right? Because we all know we want Green Bay to really upgrade that position. But we'll throw some football chat in here too. No inside the trading room this morning with our good buddy Dr. Austin Crow, unavailable this morning. So we can't ask about Karl Anthony Towns if you're a Timberwolves fan. And a little bit of bummer, although Anthony Edwards had himself a game last night, 44 points and no turnovers. But Karl Anthony Towns is going to have surgery on a torn meniscus, but he is expected to be back by early in the Western Conference playoffs. So he's going to hopefully be back by the playoffs there for the Timberwolves. But definitely, I got to imagine some Timberwolves fans a little down in a battle for that top seed in the Western Conference too, between the Timberwolves and the Clippers and the Thunder. So a little bit of a hit there. Hopefully it won't affect the Timberwolves as much as Joel Embiid being out for the 76ers has affected them. At least Minnesota, you got a guy like Edwards and such. You can, shoulder the load a little bit more. Rudy Gobert's over there too. But yeah, definitely a tough hit for Minnesota. So, but we'll hit up that in our hoops chat and such. So we'll do a little receiver defer on this Friday. We usually do it on Thursdays, but since we changed up the schedule, we'll do a little receiver defer coming up at about let's say 7:45 this morning. So, all right, let's get things rolling, shall we? Let's do the lead off. We'll talk some hoops. Badgers picking up a W. They'll wrap up their regular season this weekend, along with everybody else on the men's basketball. Some of them are already in conference play and such, but Marquette and such wrapping up their regular season as well. So we'll throw some hoops chat in there. We will get to a little bit of football talk a little bit later on, and we'll throw in some Brewers chat. Why not? Spring training. We're now officially under 3 weeks away from opening day, and the Brewers picked up an 8-2 victory yesterday, and they'll be back at it today. And you will be able to catch the split squad game, but you will be able to catch the 210 game on the radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM. DL Hall is scheduled to get to be the first starter in that one. So if you want to hear a little bit about him, he's a guy that's getting a little bit more talk in camp right now. Pat Murphy again singing some of his praises just the other day. Really kind of showing his stuff. We starting to maybe set that bar a little bit higher for DL Hall. But we'll throw some baseball chat in there too. First break, then we'll get things rolling. Mixture of everything. We got some hoops, we got some baseball, we got some football. We'll hit it all up this morning. We'll be back in just a few minutes to get things rolling on this Friday morning. Get on the bus with us for opening day, home opener for Milwaukee coming up on August 2nd. As we got an early border battle between Milwaukee and Minnesota. Just head to sportstalk1051.com or wiscotrips.com to reserve your seat. Tickets are starting to fly off the shelf right now. But with your game ticket, get game ticket to the Johnsonville Party Deck, which includes food and beverages, also a couple beers for those 21 and older, round trip motor coach transportation, tailgate party from Premier Catering. Bus will leave Sam's Club in Eau Claire, 7:30 a.m. sharp, and also do a pickup at the Road Ranger in Oakdale at 8:50 a.m. So again, just head to wiscotrips.com or right at sportstalk1051.com. That icon's right there at the top of the page here. But in the last couple of days, a lot of them have been flying off the shelf. So if you want to head over to the home opener on April 2nd, better get your tickets now. I know Bob's done that.
I did it last year, and I asked, I said, who's on the bus this year? But our buddy Tom Stryker, I guess, is going to take the bus down there. Hopefully we'll do more later on because when I get to bowling, when are you going to the Brewers game again? When are you taking another bus? So we'll hopefully put one together here before too long.
Your hair, man, getting a little, you got to get a haircut there, big guy.
I got an appointment. I tried to get in yesterday, but I can't get in until tomorrow. I know I'm looking like a hair god, aren't I?
Yeah, it's like a little wavy, like it's like you're driving your convertible.
A little bouffant.
Yeah, convertible, but the window's up, so everything was going from the front.
No, well, that ain't never going to happen. That's not going to happen. But I'll tell you, I'm going to get it out. I'll be getting it out first part of next week. But Tuesday it's supposed to be 67 degrees. Man, oh man.
Yep.
Get a tea time.
I was going to say, got to get
Kasper a tea time. Classic. We should have 2 sessions. One in March now.
Right? No kidding. But how was the farm show, by the way?
Wonderful. We had a lot of folks there. The folks that listen to the sports show, listen to the farm show. They spend a lot of time listening to us here. And so that was fun. And we always talk about, what are the Bucks going to do and who the Packers going to draft and what do you think the Brewers' chances are this year? So people are invested in our teams. And the Badgers, of course, get a lot of, with this basketball team, what they're doing right now. So I was glad to see they won last night. And I was watching a little bit of it. They were behind and then I got distracted and then I forgot what it was going on and I missed the ending. But that's good. But a lot of folks, that's why farmers and sports go together. They really do. They get the chores done. They go to the high school football and basketball games and they bowl. They do a lot of things. And so I remember I had to convince one of our bosses one time, he said, well, I don't think the farm stuff fits in there. I said, listen to a Badger game or listen to a Packer game or listen to who all the sponsors are. The Milk Marketing Board, Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin, Pioneer, John Deere. I said, those people they know that farmers follow sports. And so, I guess you're right. I did listen. So sometimes you got to educate those that think they're the educators.
I like that. That should be on a shirt. Educate those. That should be. Let's start off with the Badgers. Last night, you're right, because it started off a little slow, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who thought, "Oh God, here we go again."
I'm one.
But they were able to go on a 15-2 run right before the half. Couple minutes left in the half there, and then the second half, able to kind of control the game there. But AJ Storr doing AJ Storr things, 19 points. The young guy. Blackwell coming off the bench, 17 points. McGee coming back from injury. He's been out since January. He provided a nice spark off the bench, 11 points in just 10 minutes for him. Kind of an energizer bunny there. Stephen Krall also 17 points and 11 rebounds for him. But
about time he gets in. If he gets engaged and Blackwell can keep his head on straight, they can play awfully good basketball because Storr is always going to be there. Storrs can score the basketball. But, the previous game I watched Blackwell against Illinois, and they should have beat Illinois, but he came in and just for about 5 or 6 minutes, like he didn't know where he was going, Crowell did some Crowell things. But if those guys can, if he can keep them focused, I don't know if they can beat Purdue on Saturday, but when they get into the tournament, win a game or two, if they can keep them focused.
Yeah. I don't know. There was some talk about it. But But after the game, AJ Storr kissed the court, which some people were, your face right there. Just that's the reaction everybody's got right now after the game is that he said after the game that, he was nothing too much to read into it. He was doing it for Tyler Wall because it was Tyler Wall's senior night, but hopefully that's the case. But your reaction right there was the reaction of everybody.
Yeah. Is he kissing us goodbye?
Yeah.
Or he might be kissing us. I'm back home. I love this floor. We won a big game, so we can't read too much into it. But yeah, my first reaction would be, oh no.
I wish the camera was on you right there because that was just perfect. But yeah, that's when I saw it. I'm like, oh no, because that's what you think of senior night, the final game at the Kohl Center. Yeah, I hate to think that. But again, we've talked about this too with transfer portal and such. It was just last week, 2 weeks ago. You worry about this stuff. Is AJ Storr? He's been a bright spot. Now, is he going to be frustrated and go to a different team or something like that again? You hate thinking that, but it's a reality.
But you got so many things in the equation now that weren't in the equation before. Dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, some of these guys, I've heard, they're making six figures, just the average player on this team. And when you're making six figures and going to college and getting free room and board and getting a free education, that's a pretty nice way to go. And I don't begrudge the kids a bit. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
But it does throw different things into the equation that coaches never had to deal with before.
Mm-hmm.
And some are dealing with it better than others.
Yep. Yeah. So I guess we still have to hold on to our breath, though, regardless, after the end of every season.
Oh, yeah. Now
football,
you do.
Basketball,
you really do.
I hate that.
Yeah,
I hate that feeling as a fan.
It was bad enough. We thought, oh, this isn't right for these kids to be coming out early.
Mm-hmm.
Now they can transfer as many times as they want. The NIL will pay them and they'll entice them. And, you can't meddle in somebody else's life. You can't tamper, so to speak. Well, that doesn't stop the benefactors and the donors and the rest of them from talking to some of these people.
Mm-hmm.
Unofficially, of course,
right.
But still it happens. It's the way the world's turning now.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you had a chance to read it a couple days ago, but Nick Saban was doing an interview with ESPN, and he kind of talked about a couple, and he said it wasn't the main reasons why, but I think we can read in between the lines, and just to kind of paraphrase, he mentioned, NIL and all that. And he mentioned, after that Michigan game, what really frustrated him was seeing his players' reaction after the game, tossing helmets and throwing it to the ground. And, he had a line that says, we win with class and you lose with class. But he also said there was a focus after that. A lot of the players, their two main priorities were some of the guys, what's their playing time going to be and how much money are they going to make?
Yeah, I can't blame him. That's the mentality nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it's gone.
And we know Nick Saban's a little bit more of an old school type of coach.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's how many coaches have we seen, kind of move on from that, the older school?
Football and basketball.
Yep.
You talked about Jay Wright.
Yeah.
And some of the other ones.
Roy Williams, a couple of years ago, North Carolina.
Yeah.
And that.
And Chip Kelly leaving UCLA to become an assistant at Ohio State.
Yeah.
I mean, they can say what they want, why they want to move. But that those things are a big factor in why they make those decisions.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jeff Hafley even pretty much said it when in his introductory presser to Green Bay,
mm-hmm.
When leaving a head coaching job at Boston College to be a defensive coordinator, and he alluded to it, it's different. It's a very different style of game right now.
Oh, and I've talked to different guys that have been, over the years that have been college coaches at a major level. And at that time, they said, oh, this recruiting is just so hard to do. You're on the road all the time. You're talking to these kids and, they're, you're kind of looking up to them. You gotta treat them with kid gloves.
Mm-hmm.
And that was years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it like now to be out on the recruiting trail? I don't envy them a bit, I'll tell you, because it's got to be really frustrating. And I can see why Hafley did go to Green Bay. I mean, go from Boston College to Green Bay as an assistant, as a defensive coordinator, that's not a step down by any means, I don't think.
Right.
And so, I think he came out of it in pretty good shape. Chip Kelly, on the other hand.
That one was the weird one,
that
wasn't it?
was the weird one, yeah. And so, it's really kind of crazy. It'd be like Tom Izzo coming to Wisconsin as an assistant basketball coach. It's because Chip Kelly was on the upper rung of well-known and successful college football coaches.
Well, and UCLA moving to the Big Ten next year, so more exposure that way too.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting.
But no, it's since you're talking about that too, shout out to our buddy Joe that you see Thursdays. Joe, the Cabin Coffee Joe.
I look up to him every Thursday. He's about 6'9".
But him and his buddy Bill Ferrario,
yep.
they started a podcast, and they actually were in Florida, and they had Barry Alvarez on last week.
Good for them. Well, yeah, they played for Barry.
So there's a good episode up for if you want to check that out. Or they talked to, it was like a day before the rumor started on Twitter too that Barry had died. I don't know if you heard that. Some Ohio State player tweeted that he had heard that Barry died, and then no, it wasn't true at all. Not even close.
No.
I mean, I should say not even close. There's not really either alive or not, but
no, I never heard that. But something I did hear on the news, I don't know if you talked about this or not. I just heard this morning, that Kansas City Buffalo game that they played in such cold weather in Kansas City.
Miami and Kansas City.
Miami. Did you hear about the
amputations?
Fans? Yes.
Yeah.
What in the now? If these were the people that were trying to be macho and all that stuff, you feel sorry for them. You don't want that to happen to anybody, but it's stupid. But they said between 10 and 20 people are going to have some appendage amputated because of the cold weather and the frostbite that they got.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that with the Ice Bowl in Green Bay. Of course, the news media wasn't then what it is now.
Right.
But, Marty Green came out of that with everything he went in with.
That we know of.
For the most part. but that, I sat up and listened to that when I heard that.
Yeah, I saw that headline.
Football game around here, we know you wear your hunting boots and your long underwear and your gloves and your caps with the earmuffs on them. Boy, oh boy.
That's where I'd be curious to know, is it those, like you said, or is it the fans that said, oh, it's not cold enough? Because there were signs saying, I want it colder, and there, that sort of stuff. But yeah, I'd be curious to know that, because, well, then, you're an idiot for just trying to be that way.
Yeah, and boy, I'll tell you, the postseason news out of Kansas City with this and what happened with their parade, not a good way to end the season for a championship team. I kind of feel sorry for them down there, because this is news that I've never heard at a game before happening.
Yeah. Even, I know it wasn't as cold, but the 2008 NFC Championship game, was negative something, and I was there. Yeah, it was cold, but I didn't get frostbite or anything like that. My beer froze within 3 minutes, but
but even then, if it's that cold, I don't understand it. Go into the bathrooms. The bathrooms are warm, and warm up. I just don't understand how this happened.
Yeah, that's where I don't want to speculate, but
I don't want to speculate either.
It's just
said between 10 and 20 people are going to have amputations.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, I saw that headline yesterday too. So, Badgers though take on Purdue. Going back to some hoops here, quick. Badgers will take on Purdue to end their regular season on Sunday. Marquette's in action tomorrow too. But Badgers are tied right now. If you're looking at the Big Ten Conference standings, maybe for some seedings, they're tied right now for third. But if it started today, they'd be that fifth seed. Nebraska, Northwestern, Wisconsin, all 5 games back from the top seed of Purdue. But top 4 get that double bye when it comes to the conference tournament. So right now, Wisconsin would be the team on the outside looking in case you're wondering who Northwestern plays and Nebraska plays this weekend. Don't forget, Iowa's right behind them too. They're 1 game back from Wisconsin. But Nebraska plays Michigan.
They'll win that.
Yeah, and Northwestern plays Minnesota, which
Minnesota's coming on.
That could be a good one over there too. So if that matters, if you want that double bye or the single bye or anything like that when it comes to the conference tournament, but
it's an uphill road right now with Nebraska playing Michigan, and we've got Purdue at Purdue. That's an awful big ask.
Yeah, the only thing that I'm trying to stay a little positive about is like, well, maybe Purdue will want to rest a couple guys or something, but then that's a long break because they're going to get the double bye. So,
absolutely.
They're probably going to want guys to get, and let's face it too, like it still matters with rankings, right? if they want that 1 seed,
Absolutely.
they still got to go in there with the mindset to win this game.
Yeah, because right now they're considered the number one seed nationally, aren't they?
I think either 2 or 3.
I thought they were number one
Well,
nationally.
Houston's ranked number 1 right now,
Oh,
so
Houston. Okay,
yeah.
okay.
I think Purdue's probably 2 right now. Yeah. Yeah.
But it would
So
allow them to stay in the
in the
Midwest,
Midwest.
too,
Yep, exactly.
so their fans don't have so far to go.
Yeah, that's where you want that regional in the Midwest over there. So that's the one. I guess nice thing though too about college basketball, you're not going to get guys resting too much at the end of the regular season and
No.
getting set for that though too. But I will say you might want to pay attention to another Wisconsin basketball team right now because UW Milwaukee is making a little bit of a run in the Horizon League tournament. They beat Green Bay yesterday.
Oh, they
Milwaukee
beat Green Bay. That kicks Green Bay out of the tournament, probably.
pretty much. Yep. So Milwaukee has advanced to the semis right now. So they will play this weekend. I'm bringing it up. I think it's at Northern Kentucky, excuse me, on the 11th. So,
And that's without that kid that was so highly touted, the coach's son,
oh yeah,
didn't he come?
Baldwin.
Yeah, didn't he come out last year? And who knows where in the world he ended up? But there was, it's wonderful to play for your dad, but I think that was probably a mistake for that kid to stay there at Milwaukee, where you just don't get a lot of notoriety nationally. He should have, went someplace else. But I can understand why he wanted to play for his dad. I mean, the kid at Creighton played for his dad, and
McDermott, yeah.
although Creighton's got a little more national exposure than UWM, with Marquette being right there in town as well. So that was probably but I don't know where that kid was. He came out highly rated.
He's with the Wizards right now.
Is he with them or is he with their G League team?
Oh, he's with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is he playing at all?
Let me see. Let me get his numbers.
Because I've never seen the kid playing for the
about 3 points per game right now.
Good for him. Hype he got coming out of high school that he was going to be, really a good pro.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he still will be, hopefully.
He's played 20 games this year, it looks like. So, but yeah, Green Bay. So they will play the 5 seed in Northern Kentucky. So there's a shot. There's a shot. They would right now. The other matchup, Youngstown State got upset by Cleveland State. So Oakland, the top seed's taking on Cleveland State. But hey, Milwaukee's been there before. Never, they've made these runs in the Horizon League.
I remember
before.
when Bruce Pearl was there as a coach.
Sweet 16,
You
right?
bet. Yeah, they did very, very well. So it can be done in the tournament. All it takes, you look at some of these teams, St. Joe's over the years and different ones that make a run. Some of them make the Final Four.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. It's always a fun time.
Yep, definitely. So I think for Green Bay for the women's because they finished up the season 25-6. So I'm just kind of getting to see where they're at. So my computer, I got too many windows opened up. We need some new computers in here. Just saying.
That's what I always said to the engineer. My computer isn't working. I said, well, you got everything in the world open. Shut some of those things down. I said, I can only see one.
So let me so we got the women's team won last night against for Green Bay. They defeated Youngstown State. They're the 2 seed. So their next game looks like it's going to be Monday, where they take on Purdue number 3 Purdue Fort Wayne. So
and I watched the Badger women play in the Big Ten tournament against Penn State. That was pathetic.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pathetic program. I hate to say that, but it is.
Yep. So, all right, let's take a quick break here. I want to talk some baseball coming up here. We got split squad game today. Yeah, but you're going to be able to listen to the first one, or I should say doubleheader today because you got a game afternoon and night. But you'll be able to listen to the afternoon one on the radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM. And you're going to be able to hear about one pitcher for the Brewers that apparently a lot of scouts in Major League Baseball are raving about. We'll tell you who that is coming up next. Movie number 3 for the Spring Kids movie series, presented by Mycon Cinemas, Backyard Dreams, partnering up with them. Big thanks for Mycon Cinemas for letting us partner up. 11 a.m. showtimes, all at the Oakwood Mall location. So tomorrow and Sunday, $3 admissions, $2 popcorn, $2 sodas. The movie for this weekend, kicking and screaming. Will Ferrell, Robert Duvall. If you're a soccer fan, maybe check that one out. I got 3 more to go after this. You got Bingo, then Field of Dreams, and then Space Jam, the original one, to wrap it up. Field of Dreams, perfect timing for opening day, and then Space Jam with the tournaments coming up here. So again, that's tomorrow and Sunday, the Oakwood Mall Mycon Cinemas location. All right. Speaking of baseball here, got a doubleheader for the Brew Crew today. You'll be able to check out the first one again on the radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM. And the pitcher for the Brewers that's going to be going at that 2:10 starts is a pitcher that apparently, according to Jeff Passan from ESPN, scouts have been raving about, talking about this spring training in an article on ESPN where they talked about the top 10 players that scouts are kind of, goo goo gagaing over. Maybe I'm being a little dramatic in that, but nonetheless, DL Hall. DL Hall, the pitcher that the Brewers got in return from Corbin Burns. But ESPN wrote about 10 young players that scouts are buzzing about so far in spring training. And one of the scouts said the Brewers landed a hard-throwing, hyper-athletic left-hander whose stuff screams front end of the rotation, but whose control has screamed future in the bullpen. So, but nonetheless, Pat Murphy the other day too was singing his praises and such. But so far, so good. So we'll get another glimpse of DL Hall. But the more stuff you hear about this, and you got scouts saying, "Hey, watch out for this guy." I'm hoping we nail this trade for Corbin Burns.
Yeah, it
I'm
sounds
I'm
good.
hoping.
I mean, after the Hader trade, you didn't hear it. All you heard was, well, one guy will not make the roster, the other guy's going to hang out, and you give up Hader. So this is really good news that this kid, and you're going to have control of him for a while. And the
Mhm.
more he pitches, the more control he's going to get. I think. I don't know if he's going to
Exactly.
be a Ryan Dern for a reference to an old Yankee reliever that once hit a guy in the on deck circle, but I think he's got better control than that.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think it's one of those that the more experience you're going to get, the control is going to be a little bit better
Oh, I think so
up
too.
there too. But we heard when this trade was announced that this was a guy that could be on the upswing, but early indications so far in camp and spring training, he's opening eyes of a lot of scouts over there too. So hopefully this is a guy that can be that next Brewers pitcher that we've seen kind of work through the ranks a little bit.
Yeah, every once in a while you get like they said, diamond in the rough. That they thought Burns and Burns a great pitcher. I won't say anything bad about Corbin Burns, but hopefully what we get in return for Corbin Burns is going to satisfy Brewer fans that we got something in return this time.
Mm-hmm. And he still has one more option year remaining, if that matters. I don't think it matters at this point too much, but it is to kind of throw something out there if he has to go down to maybe work on some stuff for that. But
And I'm excited he's left-hander.
mm-hmm.
That makes a difference to having a little variation in your rotation.
Yep. I agree. Aaron Ashby got his first start yesterday, coming off of another appearance earlier in spring training where it was a little rough, but definitely looked better yesterday. Pat Murphy saying he's building himself up, and now he's got to get outs consistently, and he can't give up free bases. He's got to keep the ball in the zone. He's got to keep the ball in front of the catcher and hold runners, and he has to just pitch. So he took a step. I feel like Ashby is going to be the guy that comes out of the bullpen this year.
I think he's going to be a long reliever.
Yeah, I agree. I think they still maybe potentially view him as a starter down the road. But I think right now with that injury setting him back last year and still trying to work his way up, I think he's going to be in the bullpen this year.
I think he probably will, and depending on who gets hurt in the rotation, because somebody's always going to pull a muscle or do something in the rotation. None of these pitchers are ever, going to pitch all season long. There aren't any Nolan Ryans left in this world anymore.
I agree. I agree. A couple other highlights so far from spring training. If you're looking at, I know the Brewers have a really, really good catcher right now in William Contreras. But Jefferson Quiro, their minor league catcher, who is one of their top prospects, dude's got a gun on him. He's thrown out 5 of 7 stolen base runners so far in spring training.
Good for him, because that's a lost art.
Yeah. Yep. So if that's yeah, he's only 21, and I know Contreras is still really young, but that might be somebody to kind of keep a tab on too in the future. He's one of their top prospects there, but especially now when you think baseball is going to be more guys being aggressive and stealing the bases and such. If you got a guy like that, yeah. If you got a guy like that that's pretty darn accurate and has got that gun behind the plate, somebody that stock's going to rise a little bit too. So
absolutely, and the pitchers are going to like throwing to a guy like that too, because it gives them a little bit more confidence. They don't have to be as perfect.
Excuse me, it wasn't 5 out of 7 runners. It was just 5 runners in 7 games. That's even more impressive.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Holy
it is.
moly.
Because you look at the percentage of throwouts for most catchers, and it's not outstanding, but that's it's tough if many times they steal on a pitcher. I mean, the catcher just desperation throw is what it amounts to in many cases. But for a catcher with a gun, you get that respect back there. And with that rule, you can only go over there so many times to first base. And if you go over there the next time, you got to get him, or it's a balk, or whatever the rule is. I mean, it's, this helps having a guy like that behind home plate.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we're seeing some of these youngsters, these guys that maybe we won't see have immediate impacts right away, but I know some Brewers fans kind of get tired of this, but future's kind of bright too, it seems like.
Yeah,
farm systems ranked very high in that,
and the young players on the roster right now are good players, getting better.
Saw Sal Frelick taking some short grounders and throws to home from third base, so that might be more of a thing now. The more this act, he might be the opening day starting third baseman.
Yeah, if he can give him some offense, and can he give him 30 home runs? I doubt it.
Right,
but if he can give him some offense. And I don't know how the new manager is going to manage this team as far as offense is concerned, because let's face it, the Council wasn't a hit and run, bunt and run type of manager. He was the strikeout or home run type of manager. And so we'll see, because we don't have a lot of home run hitters on this team that are going to put up big numbers and that have traditionally put up big numbers. So, a good manager is going to manage the talent he's got, not try and force things. So we'll see how this works out.
Yeah, the one name, and maybe I'm just missing it, but I haven't heard talked a whole lot about, is Ricky Weeks, as the associate manager in spring training, and I get it. It's Pat Murphy's team and it's his first year. A lot of that tension is going to go on him, but I haven't really heard a whole lot about Ricky Weeks.
No, I haven't heard a word about Ricky Weeks in spring training, what his real assignment is. I don't know if as a bench coach, he's sitting there and he's trying to learn from Murphy, or if he really has some input into the infield defense or base running. I don't think I don't think he's going to be called on to be a hitting coach, but I think as far as the infield, strategies in the infield, base running, I don't know what his exact mission is going to be. Or I always wonder what a bench coach really does. What is your job as a bench coach? I don't know.
Replace the manager when he gets tossed. I know, like, some of them have, like, they'll work on like defensive assignments or stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I honestly thought when Ricky Weeks was hired, and I think we all kind of figured at the time, maybe the plan is he's going to be the eventual manager when Pat Murphy retires or whatever it is, that he was going to be like a talking point for a lot of people and kind of, in the spotlight. And really, it's kind of been quiet, I feel like, with Weeks so far. And I'm not complaining about that. It's just,
maybe it's a good thing.
Yeah. I thought Brewers or somebody was going to, like, hey, here's our associate manager, because that's the title. It's not even bench coach. It's associate manager.
Oh, it is associate manager.
Yeah.
Oh.
Whether that means anything different.
Yeah, Brewers think a lot of him.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's been kind of quiet a little bit there.
Well, it's
focus on the players,
exactly. Focus on the players, because there are a lot of, there's still, while we know these players, there's still a lot of questions about them. Who's going to play where, when, what's the batting lineup going to be? It's a lot of questions still about this team. And, if they get off to a decent start, that's going to build confidence. And, opposite of what the Badger basketball team, they kind of lost confidence here the last couple of months or the month and a half. And hopefully last night that brings them back. But, winning cures a lot of ills, that's for sure. And hopefully the Brewers can get off to a good start. I haven't heard much about, is Freddie Peralta done anything yet? Has he pitched an inning or two or whatever?
He has. He did make his. Was it last week? His first appearance. Let me bring up the numbers and how he did.
And I don't imagine they're pushing him. I mean, they want him to, because he's prone to injury too. I was down there. I think it was last year, the year before. He was pitching the game and going along, and all of a sudden, he just kind of jerked on the mound. Off he went, and he didn't play again for another 3 or 4 months. He did something to his shoulder, I believe, or something. But
yeah,
so
3
it can
innings
happen
so far.
It can happen real fast. So
3
hopefully
innings.
they're bringing him along, because I would assume he's going to be opening day.
Yeah, and that's where I think too. His goal, he said the other day, was to pitch 200 innings this year, and I feel like he's a wild card in the sense of, if he is that guy that can be the ace, he can be a guy that helps lead this team to the postseason. But if he's a guy that's going to miss a lot of time and maybe not be that ace, that throws a wrench in kind of the starting rotation a little bit.
Does it ever? But it's interesting. Years ago, and when I was a kid, maybe even when you started watching, 300 innings. That's what the pitchers talked about. Going to pitch 300 innings, 250 to 300 innings. Now they're happy with these guys to go 200 innings.
Yeah.
I can see why the starting pitching salaries haven't escalated like relievers have, because the relievers are more important now than starters. It seems like.
Yeah. All right, 1 hour in. We got a couple more to go here. Reminder: no inside the training room. Dr. Crow's unavailable this morning, so we'll throw some football chat in here too, and a bunch more. We'll get back to some hoops talk as well. 1 in, 2 more to go. We'll be back after these news updates. Second hour on this Friday morning, a little TGIF action coming at you. Appreciate you tuning in however you're tuning in. Appreciate the reminder there, intern. I keep forgetting about Clark. I found that out yesterday.
Yeah. Saturday night, Sunday morning. You don't want to be late for church, coffee, fishing, whatever you're doing. Want to be there on time.
Yeah,
2:00.
losing an hour, but it'll be brighter when we come in.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
Start to get their way.
Yep.
So that's the positive. That's the
days
positive.
stay long now. The days start to lengthen out. We get into June and 9:30, 10 o'clock, and it's still light out.
Yep. So that's the positive in that. So appreciate you tuning in. However, wherever you may be tuning in from. Normally, we would have a little inside the training room with Dr. Crow, Chippewa Valley Orthopedic Sports Medicine. Unavailable this morning, but that's
He's
okay.
on IR, huh?
Yeah. not in that way, but yeah, he's on IR. So we'll hopefully catch up with him again next week. I know Timberwolves fans a little bit nervous right now because Karl Anthony Towns meniscus surgery.
I had meniscus surgery.
Did you?
Yep.
Did you get the trim or the repair or like full repair, or do you remember?
I had the trim. It was neat because the doctor, I'm trying to think of the doctor's name, but really a good guy. And he was explaining what was wrong. He said, "You want to watch it?" I said, "What do you mean watch it?" He said, "Like, you can watch me do it." He said, "Give me a block from the waist down."
Yeah.
And then put 3 holes in my leg. And in one, he put a camera. Another, he put the grinder. And another, he put the, vacuum, or like a dentist sticks in your mouth. And he said, now, when he showed it me, he said, now this is what it looks like. It looked like a bunch of rough mountain peaks is what it looked. And that's what it looked like. He said, what I'm going to do is go in there and we're going to grind those off and we're going to, make them smooth. So I watched it, and that's exactly what he did.
Wow.
Kind of interesting.
Obviously numbed and all that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I had the block from the waist down.
Yep.
But he went along. He says, "Oh, here, look at this. Watch this." And zip, away it goes. That peak goes away.
Wow.
Yeah. So and this was a long time ago. I don't know what they can do now. Maybe a person can help do it. I don't know. But it was kind of, and I forgot the doctor's name. Darn it. Really a good guy. And then he helped me. And he had done Olympic skiers, and me, I'm just a local guy, but he, helped with the Olympic team here. He's doctor from here, helped with the Olympic team and many big time athletes, helping put their joints back together.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun. So I don't know how serious his meniscus is, and it didn't take me all that long to rehab. And I was not a rush to get back,
right,
to playing or anything like that. But I went through, they had a little bit of rehab and exercises to do, and came out fine, no problems.
Yeah, they're expecting that he should be back early part of the playoffs. So
yeah, I'm not surprised.
It's just, I think right now with how competitive the top of the Western Conference is, hopefully they don't have too far of a fall like when Joel Embiid, got hurt and 76ers kind of falling out. Yeah. At least the T-Wolves, though, they've got Anthony Edwards and,
But everybody's different. Joel Embiid seems to be injury prone. And Karl Anthony Towns, for the most part, he's been injury free. He doesn't seem to be like he's had a lot of injuries.
No, it's just, with him missing, you hope they don't fall down in the standings too much.
Absolutely.
With how competitive the Western is right now.
It really is.
We'll talk some hoops here in just a little bit with the Bucks back in action tonight. But we mentioned it yesterday when Brandon was talking a little bit about it. And because you had asked if Richie, our Iditarod guy, was going to call in, and Richie's working. He's at clinicals right now. I did reach out, but Iditarod making some news, not for the race. Well, for the race, but mostly for
every once in a while that happens.
Yeah,
the moose get in the way.
It is a rule. Like some people are like, okay, show me where the rule. It is a rule that you have to, if you take down a moose or an animal, you got to field dress it. That's a rule that you have to field dress it.
Oh, up there. I mean, they're very cognizant. I mean, those animals are, I won't say sacred, but important to feed the people up there.
And that's exactly.
You're not going to waste a moose carcass.
Nope. And that's where, the Dallas CV, who was he's a former champion, multiple time champion over there too. And I know one of our listeners, Mr. Crass, has actually wrestled against him. In the past, Crash trained over there. They would wrestle a lot apparently, but he got penalized, a 2-hour penalized because he didn't properly field dress. He field dressed it, but apparently didn't do it good enough. So he got penalized for it.
There's some people up there know how to field dress animals. Yeah. Believe me.
But they did officials did get the carcass and donate the meat and pass it out and that too. But yeah, that's the big storyline right now is that moose that
they
had to be
can be
taken
ornery.
down. Yeah,
They can be ornery.
and I probably would have gotten a penalty too because I probably wouldn't have field dressed it properly
Oh
over
man,
there. But
I
that's
had to
you know what.
I had to change my laundry before I field dressed it though, because I'm telling you what, those babies are big, and you got those dogs, and what a few years ago, one of them took out one musher's half their dog team. They're mean.
Yeah.
Those moose are mean.
So if you're ever thinking about maybe doing this, make sure you know how to gut an animal.
That's for sure.
That's the other part. That's the training part there
Your
too.
knife
So
is sharp. That's right, because the moose are there for the most part. They got that kind of commotion. Usually they'll stay away, but there's every once in a while there's one that'll wander in there by not being aware of all the activity, and they get on that road or on the trail, and it's that snow up there is so deep.
Yeah,
you can't break your own trail. It's really because you just wear out your dogs, so they got to stay on that trail.
Yep. Yeah. So I think this was like at 1 something in the morning too. It wasn't even like daylight or anything.
Maybe that's part of it too. But how far are they from the end? I guess I know they started earlier this week, and it's 1,000 miles to Nome, so I don't know how far along they are.
I'm not. I'll just tell you, I'm not familiar because I got the list of the checkpoints right now. So maybe you would know this. The leader is Nicolas Pettit. His last checkpoint was Ruby. So I'm not quite sure where Ruby. It looks like about a little over halfway.
Okay.
Distance from the start. So yeah, Nome's 975 miles.
Yeah, about 1,000.
And Ruby is about 495 from the starting point. So about halfway.
Yeah.
Over there. So.
Yeah. And they take good care of them. They have vet checks for the dogs every so far along that route. So they take care of their animals. The animals are most important.
Mm-hmm. Richie, I hope I did you justice by breaking that down to checkpoints right there, over there. I don't know if you saw this too, just because we're talking about maybe some non-traditional sports here. Mike Tyson's getting back in the ring.
Yes, I saw that. Who's this guy he's fighting?
Some YouTube sensation. I mean, I've heard of him before, but I don't pay attention to YouTube sensations. No. But Jake Paul, who's, he's been a boxer, fighting other people and that, but he's 27 years old. And
his body looks like a jigsaw puzzle with all the ink on it.
Yeah. So this is going to be on Netflix in the summer. Man, that weekend, July 20th, there's a lot going on. It's my birthday weekend. Apparently, it's my 20th high school class reunion that I don't even know if I'm going to go to.
You better.
Brewers and Twins, or Brewers are over there in Minnesota that weekend. I want to go to that. There's other stuff. And now I want to see Mike Tyson almost kill this guy. Because I think that's what's going to happen. I mean,
well, Mike Tyson's got to be pushing 60, doesn't he?
He'll be 58 at the time of that fight. But I mean, this guy, there's clips of him, and he's still fast as all be. And he's still. Mike Tyson's a guy I probably don't want to meet in the corner.
No.
Or dark alley.
I don't want him mad at me.
Yeah.
Anyway. How big is this other kid?
I did see the breakdown.
He better be halfway decent size, because Mike Tyson will knock his head off. Because at 58, at 58, and I was 58 at one time, and I was still pretty, not like it was when I was 28 or 18, but you're still plenty active and in plenty good shape.
He is 6'1", and his last fight 199.8 pounds. So
Tyson's what, about 2?
It's got to be a lot more than that.
Yeah, but Tyson was never a big, huge man.
No. Let me see if I can, if this will pull up here.
I mean, he wasn't as big as Ali or some of those other guys. He was only about 5. He was only about 5'8", 10, isn't he, or something like that?
Yeah, he's 5'10". Tyson back in 2020 revealed he weighed around 220.
Okay, that was big, I think, because I think when he was fighting,
he fought at his prime at 218. It says.
Okay, so I know he wasn't a huge man.
Mm-hmm. He's still fast. It looks like, though. Holy moly!
I'm glad it's him, not me. I don't want to tackle those guys.
I know he's 58, but I mean, that's still no. You couldn't pay me enough to go in that ring with Tyson.
No way
to do that.
No way. You couldn't put a padded enough helmet on me.
No, I've watched the movie The Hangover. I know what that's like. But
it'd be fun to watch.
I kind of want to watch it. Just I was younger. I remember Tyson Holyfield, the ear biting incident. I remember seeing morning after the new stuff, but I was still a young kid and all that.
Yeah.
But boxing has always been a sport that I really wanted to get into. Like I really wanted to be a
Really?
fan. Yeah, not participate, but like be a fan of.
Yeah.
Yeah, not actually, put on the gloves and go at it, but
There used to be in Madison when I was a kid growing up. Vern Woodward was the boxing coach of the University of Wisconsin boxing team. And every Saturday morning, he had Little Badger boxing.
Mm.
And so, and I was in it, a lot of kids were in it because it was held at the gymnasium at the school that I went to down there in Madison. And there were a lot of kids in it because boxing at that time was still thought, I mean, you wore a helmet, you wore gloves as big as a pillow on your bed, just about, so you couldn't hurt anybody. And he taught you the moves, the footwork, how to punch, turn your hand and punch and all this, that, and the other thing. But if you want to be a Badger, then come along with me. I mean, you learn the songs and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, Vern Woodward, until Charlie Moore, of course, was on the team and got killed in a bout, that ended all that. The team was disintegrated the next day or the next week, and Little Badger boxing went the way of the the way of the horse and buggy. But it for a long time it was a big thing.
Well, I think it was Luke. Little trivia last week. It was something with Wisconsin. I don't know if they got the most national championships.
They had a lot. They had a good program.
there.
Really good program.
I think that's what it was. When
I wouldn't doubt it.
I don't know if they still have banners up for that because it's not a sanctioned
NCAA
thing.
No, not anymore. No, boxing's long gone. I don't know where the banners might be. Maybe they're in the athletic department someplace.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen them in the field house, or I've never seen them, along the walls at Camp Randall or anything like that. But I'm sure the banners are still there.
Yeah. So,
because it was a going sport in the 50s.
I know you've talked about that a few times too. But yeah, that's one I wish I could have. I don't know, like maybe it's just because I'm a huge Rocky fan, but boxing's not like that. Where
speaking of that, are you watching this Stallone thing in his family or whatever? This Stallone family?
No.
I mean, what is this? Just to take off on the Kardashian? Who cares?
Yeah, I don't watch that.
I don't want to watch them.
No. I did watch the Stallone documentary. I think it was on Netflix. I think Marty Green actually emailed about it a while ago. Well, that wasn't too bad, but
but to watch his family and his 3 daughters, who cares?
Yeah, I'm not into that stuff. The TMZ or whatever the heck it is.
I don't know what it is,
but
take off on the Kardashians, I'm sure.
Yeah. Nope, I'm not into that. I know I mentioned it at the beginning, but again, just a shout out to Baldwin Woodville and McDonald Central, both girls basketball teams falling yesterday in their state games. But that McDonald Central one was close all the way to the end there.
Yeah.
But Cuba City getting the win, late steal, and in a bucket there too. But still, congrats on a very, very good season to both teams. Remember, McDonald Central moved up a division this year too. So, boys side, we've got a few local teams that will play on Saturday for a spot to go to state. Elk Mound, River Falls, Cameron, Owen Withee all advanced with wins last night too. And UW Stout women's basketball team, they're still in the national tournament, Sweet 16 tonight. And it's actually kind of a home game for them too. They're playing in Whitewater. So they're welcome.
They know the gym.
Yeah, they're welcoming Transylvania. So their logo is the Bats. You'd think their name would be the Bats, but it's Pioneers.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know what that's all about, but that's
game. It's like Stanford. Stanford's nickname is the Cardinal.
Yeah.
But what's their logo? A tree is a logo.
Yeah.
I mean,
but that game's at 5 p.m. tonight, so go Stout.
Yeah, go Stout. Absolutely. The more winners we can get is not change subject or on the subject a little different. Marquette is Kolek, their guard, All-American guard. How long is he out for? I know he's out. I don't think they're going to play him in the Big East tournament, but I hope he would be back for the NCAA tournament because he is really one of the best guards in the country as far as a distributor, playmaker, and really makes that team go. So hopefully he's going to be back.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what his injury is. If it's a leg injury or ankle, I'm not sure what his injury is. But boy, they need him. That's for sure.
Oblique injury. Smart said Tuesday, barring a miracle, Kolek won't play in the 2 regular season games. He didn't play in UConn and such. But Shaka said we feel very confident that he will be able to play at some point very soon.
Good.
So,
Yeah.
but
I don't think. Of course, you never know how these
reevaluate
people,
before the Big East tournament. So.
yeah, I don't know how these people evaluate these teams. They're going to make a tournament. They're going to have a decent seed, but whether they'd penalize them if they get beat in the Big East tournament early without Kolek, whether that would make an effect on their seeding as far as the tournament is concerned or not, I would hope not, because everybody knows that he's a big part of that team.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, but hey, we'll have conference tournaments next week already, and then Selection Sunday is a week from this weekend.
Well, some of those tournaments are going on already.
Yep.
Some of those smaller
like the Horizon League that we mentioned a little bit earlier.
That,
so,
right.
But Selection Sunday already a week from this Sunday. Man.
Yeah, won't take long.
Man.
Yeah, after this Saturday games, then it's to Minneapolis for the tournament, and away they go.
Yeah, it is right over just across the border from us.
The women are playing now, and then the men's tournament will be starting this week too.
Yep. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll talk some Bucks. Bucks are back in action tonight. We'll throw a little football chat in here too. We got receiver defer also coming up at the back end of this hour. So we'll take that quick break. Maybe. There we go. We'll be back in just a few minutes. March 28th, we're going to hang out at Hy-Vee for a little opening day party with Milwaukee opening day. They're taking on New York. So we're going to hang out. We're going to have some food. We're going to have some beverages. I think Hy-Vee is trying to get some cool stuff lined up over there as well. There's also some National Something on a Stick Day. So
That bar, the food area they got over, that's the neatest place. Grocery stores have little coffee areas, but having that bar with a lot of variety and the eating area there, you can, get some awfully good food there and sit there and eat. It's really, what a concept.
Yeah.
In the summertime when you eat outside besides or inside. Yeah, that's
so
a great place.
Yes, and so we're gonna hang out and take in the game to open up the baseball season. I know Sammy from the Express is gonna stop on by too, so
Good.
we're we'll just a little get together. And I know that spring break week too, so maybe some of the teachers, if you have off that week or whatever, come on by. So, bottom of the hour, we're here. Bucks are gonna be back in action tonight, taking on the Lakers. Coming off that loss against Golden State, their first loss since the All-Star break there. But Chris Middleton still going to be out, still dealing with some swelling in that ankle, apparently a little bit there. So we'll see. Giannis did play in that game against the Warriors, so maybe, hopefully, still will play in tonight's game. I know he's been dealing with some tendonitis in his Achilles over there, but nonetheless, I feel like, don't want to overreact to just one game, but since this Bucks team, the All-Star break, this looks like a different, better Bucks team than what we saw majority part of the season. Like, maybe they're starting to figure it out and kind of work together and cohesiveness, if you will.
Yeah, I think so. I think Doc's message is a little clearer to these guys now, and it's a little more of a professional message, for lack of a better term, than maybe the coach they had to start the year. And it sits with these guys because, let's face it, this is a veteran team. These aren't rookies. This is a veteran team. And I think Doc's message is a veteran's message.
I think there was, because Hutzy was watching it last night for a little bit, the Mavericks game going up against the Heat.
Yeah, there were some plays in that game that were unbelievable.
But Reggie Miller was talking about this, and they were talking about it apparently in the pregame with Shaq and such, and they were talking about like Luka and like the style of offense that Dallas is playing, and it's a lot of isolation with Luka and Kyrie Irving, and maybe not a lot of ball movement, a lot of cuts and all that, and making the argument or making the case that would Dallas be better overall offensively if there was more movement, like if Luka would take a little bit off and maybe distribute the ball more, and you're nodding your head, so you kind of know what I'm getting at here. And I think that's what the Bucks do with like Damian and Giannis. Like, they don't have that guy. I think they understand their roles, right? One of those guys could do that.
Yeah, I've got a receiver defer on that, but go ahead.
All right. But no, I was just kind of saying, I think there's a lot of unselfish basketball when it comes to Milwaukee right now between Dame and Giannis. Whereas it's interesting when you see like the Mavericks with Luka.
Completely different.
It's different, right? I mean,
and that's the one thing, I don't think they can ever win with Luka. With this Luka, great player as he is, he can win. I mean, that's not what I'm saying. This style, I don't think you can manufacture it through the playoffs long enough. I think you're going to get caught. And I don't, for individual games during the season, yeah. But all of a sudden, you can, unless Luka changes his game. And will he change? Once in a while he does. He'll have a lot of assists, but not consistently. So, yeah, I agree with you. I don't think Dallas is going to win a title with these guys.
And you look at the numbers, he's first in scoring, about 34.6. He is third in assists, 9.8 in that, but he's racking those up. But there are those instances.
But he's the only one that holds the ball. He's the only one that handles the ball. He better have a lot of assists.
Right. I think that's the part when you look at it, numbers wise, if you're quote box score scouting again, you're like, well, what do you mean? He's got all these dimes. He's got all it's kind of like, remember when James Harden a few years ago, when he was kind of, going after Giannis and such, and like their little verbal exchanges through the media, and Harden's like, well, I've got more assists, and anybody who's watched James Harden though would you got a lot of assists, but like Luka, the ball's in his hands all the time. He better have some assists, with that too. But there's a couple plays last time I was watching Luka, I'm like, he had two guys open on the wings, and he's just kind of, trying to back down, dribble down, and he missed a little bunny hop because he had two guys wide open on the wing side there too. That's one of my frustrations a lot with a lot of these NBA teams is that just seems like to me obvious basketball is like kick it out, kick it out.
But you don't know what his coach is telling him.
Exactly.
Is his coach telling him that you're our first option to score?
Mm-hmm.
Even though Kyrie's on that team too, Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
You're our first option to score. You do what you can to score. Well, if he handles that ball for 20 seconds of the 24-second shot clock, he doesn't have a lot of time to look around by that time.
Right.
So, I don't know what his coach is telling him, and, his mindset is to score, and that's what he's getting paid to do.
And how much, not to downplay it or, it is Jason Kidd, but when your philosophy on offense is so much ISO and isolation, how much coaching really is there on the offensive side?
And surprising for a point guard like Jason Kidd.
Right, yeah.
He's a distributor. He was a distributor when he played.
Yeah.
And, you got Luka as more or less your point guard because Kyrie plays like the 2 all the time or the 3. And he's not coaching him to distribute the ball, that's for sure. He's coaching him to shoot the ball because that's what Luka's paid to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just, when you're saying ISO, that's the call. It's like, how much, there's not a lot of creativity in that.
No.
No. So, but no, back to the Bucks though. I feel like, at least my opinion is they look like a team that's a little bit more comfortable in their skin. It seems like.
Getting that way. I don't think they're there yet.
But
they're not a finished product yet.
No. And I know Dame said the other day, a lot of that credit to kind of their turnaround, he gave it to Doc, and kind of what you alluded to there a little bit too. And I just think it's a respect thing that, Doc walks in that locker room. There's probably a little bit more respect compared to, again, Adrian Griffin, first time coming in, head coach, and you got a lot of veterans and a lot of guys making a lot of bank. That doesn't, I don't think, sway Doc too much because he's been around the block a few times. He doesn't really care about, personalities and such. He demands that respect coming in there.
Yeah, and he deserves it too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's been around a long time. He knows the game, and he knows that people say, "Well, he's never been a winner." Well, he's won 1 title as a coach, but but with a fragile, that Philadelphia 76er team, talented but so fragile. And I'm not just talking about their physical health, like Embiid is out on a regular basis, but their psyche is kind of shaky as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you've got that with the Bucks. I think you've got some guys that are more focused, more centered, so to speak, than some of the guys at Philadelphia.
Yeah, I mean, remember he had Harden on that team last year.
Yeah,
James Harden and Joel Embiid and all that. And I think didn't Embiid say last year that he still wanted Doc to be the coach? I
don't know. He very well may have.
Yeah, I can't remember off top. But you look at some of the teams, and he's had a lot of talent, but then a lot of personalities on those teams.
Oh boy, I guess so.
Even Celtics. You got KG and Paul Pierce on there, and then apparently they were upset with Ray Allen when he went to the Heat, and that was grinded their gears for how many years? And Rajon Rondo's over there too, and then. You got the Clippers with Blake Griffin, and it's just, he's had a lot of personalities on his teams over the years. So, but they got the Lakers, and then they'll get the Clippers again on Sunday, Sacramento Tuesday, Philadelphia Thursday. Not to look too far ahead, but they do have Boston coming up in a couple of weeks here too. Maybe an early preview of that Eastern Conference Finals.
Well, they got to get their players back.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get all these guys back, and I don't know what the status is of some of them, but when you got scorers that you count on out tweaking these injuries, I don't know, that's not good because we're getting close to the playoffs now, and they got to be figured into this offense in the regular season.
I do think that Clippers game on Monday was probably one of their better wins of this whole season.
Oh, no question.
With no Giannis, no Middleton, that was a game why you make a trade for a Damian Lillard.
Yep.
So you have that other dude to kind of carry the load.
And Chris Middleton, maybe I'm wrong. I should say it for receiver to fur, but receiver to fur. This is Middleton's last year in Milwaukee. I can't imagine he's going to be back.
I don't know how the contract thing, but man, these last few years with that injury,
he hasn't been dependent. I mean,
available. He hasn't been available.
That's the word to use. Yeah, he hasn't been available. And if he's not available, he's not any more value to him than you and I.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. All right, we'll take a quick break and then we'll do some receiver defer. We actually got a couple from some listeners over there too. So if you got any in the next few minutes, hit us up with a text. All right, 715-830-1912. We'll be back in just a few minutes to close up the second hour. Yesterday, we launched registration for the Casper Classic for our Sports Talk members. If you checked your emails, you got the info, you got the dates, and you were able to sign up. And holy moly, did a lot of you already sign up. But now it's open to the public here. We had to add some more teams on there because we double-digit signups yesterday already. So just head to sportstalk1051.com for the 4th annual Casper Classic over there. And we got some new stuff added on there. More details, again, you can just head to our website, sportstalk1051.com. August 2nd, we're back at the gorgeous Princeton Valley Golf Course. So big thanks to all of you who have signed up. Any interest in sponsoring to help out Backyard Dreams? We got some lofty goals this year, but any interest for sponsoring the classic, just hit me up. Hit me up with a text, email, or whatever, and we'll get back to you. So,
and don't try and steal their ATM machine, or you'll get you'll get accosted by the boss, and she's nasty.
Josh and Allie are awesome over there.
Yeah, they
definitely.
Are.
So
I think that's still the greatest story I've ever heard. Even Josh, when you talk to him about it, he just shakes his head. He's, I couldn't believe what she was doing.
Yep. And Zach, the GM over there, they're just awesome people to work with. So big thanks to them for letting us hang out again over there all day on a Friday. So, but now it's open to the public. I know a lot of you were like emailing yesterday. When is it? Well, if you're not a member, you had to sign up to be a member to get that one. Now you can. But again, big thanks to everybody. We had double-digit signups already yesterday.
Good deal.
So, all right, receiver deferred. Let's start off with John here really quick before we get to yours. Receiver deferred. The Bucks will go 4-2 in their next games. As we mentioned, they got the Lakers, Clippers, Sacramento, Philly, Phoenix, and Boston.
Defer.
I say it's like 3-3.
That's what I say too.
So I guess I'll defer too. So
until the consistency comes in, I don't think they're consistent enough right now. You know, they had a nice one against the Clippers, lay an egg against Golden State. They're too capable of laying that egg.
To me, it's like I'd feel better about if Middleton was out there and healthy.
Oh yeah, and Giannis was healthy. He's out there, but he's not healthy, and you don't know how much that's really affecting his game.
Right. Yep.
But the other team can tell it. You know, they know how much Giannis can do once he gets out there, and because they played enough against him now that they know when he's not 100%, and if he's 80 or 70 or whatever, they know.
Yep. All right, I'll go with you, sir.
All right, receiver deferred. Just watching the Bucks' offense is better when it runs through Damian Lillard than when Giannis controls the offense.
I think I'll receive that.
Yeah, I will too, because Giannis gets too out of control. He starts turning and spinning and deep and diving, and you know, sometimes the ball just get out of his hands, and Damian Lillard seems to have a little bit more under control.
Yeah,
but they'll never take the ball out of Giannis's hands. I'm not saying they should, but I just think the offense goes a little bit smoother when Damian Lillard has it.
And I think Giannis, if there's one superstar that's, you know, like, I mean, he said it a couple weeks ago, this is Dame's team, which I get what he's saying, but to hear a superstar say that, you know, it's like, no, just, you know, he wants to win, right? He wants to win. So,
well, same thing with the AD for the Lakers. He's you know, his LeBron's team, you know. And so, you know, but I just think the offense seems to be a little smoother when Damian Lillard has the ball.
And you'd say that's more natural, him being a guard and that point guard. So, what else you got?
Well, Packers receiver defer. The Packers should add a free agent safety as their first priority in adding to this roster, irregardless outside of the draft.
So free agency opens next week.
Yeah. Their first priority should be a new safety.
A resounding receive.
Yeah.
I mean, the talent pool. I mean, there's boatloads of safeties available now in free agency. I'll even take it a step further. I think they should double dip.
Couple of them, huh?
2 of them. Do what they did when they signed up Zadarius and Preston.
Yeah, that was a difference maker that year. There's no question about that. I don't know what the dollars involved in such a move would be, but what's the status of the Bakhtiari contract? I haven't been following that.
I feel like we're gonna finally get the decision. They got to do it by Wednesday. to move on from him.
Okay. Can he play? I wouldn't count on him.
Well, and even if he can play, I don't want a $40 million cap hit
No, I don't
on
either.
him.
How
I
much
feel
of
like
that can they get out from under?
20 some.
Well, that's a big number.
Yeah. That's why, you move on from him. You're moving up big time in the cap hit. So, unless
And the Jets will take him.
probably, honestly, probably. But unless they can figure out some huge major pay cut thing, but I kind of feel like we're going to find out in a Friday news dump this afternoon that Bakhtiari's been released.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Because
I think it's a move that we all expect.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how they can keep him because you talk about fragile goods.
Yeah.
You just can't count on him. He stands in there and all of a sudden that's it. One series and you never see him again.
Yeah, or like this year he plays one game and he looks good and you're like, all right, and then we don't see him anymore.
Yep, he's done. Yep. And I think that's the way of it in the future.
Yep.
He's been a great player. I don't want to say anything bad about him, but reality is reality. He can't play anymore.
And it just stinks how it happened. Like you feel for the guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's practice. He gets a torn ACL. Yep. And we see all these other guys that make good recoveries from ACLs and they're back. But as Dr. Crow has told us many times, it doesn't mean it's going to be the same for everybody. And it's just his has not gone as well as a lot of others.
Yeah. And you wonder if it's his physiology or, did the doctor not do it right? The rehab didn't go right. There are a lot of things you could probably look at, but the bottom line is it didn't happen.
Yep. I agree. But I feel like if it's not a Friday news dump, we're going to find out this weekend. I could be completely wrong, but it's going to happen in the next couple of days here.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable.
Mm-hmm. And they got to do it by Wednesday. No, that's what Goody said. They're going to do it by the start of the new league year, which is Wednesday.
Receiver deferred would be more important to bring Runyon back than Bakhtiari.
Well, all things equal, like you bring in
how much money Runyon would get in free agency, but I know he's in the free agent market. But for the guys that they've got right now on the Warren Packer uniforms, because of the health, just because you can count on his health a whole lot more than you can Bakhtiari. He's not as good as, I'm not saying he's the equal of Bakhtiari on the field, but I'm saying to get a body on the field, you got to go for a guy like that more than Bakhtiari.
If you're talking health wise,
that's what I'm saying.
I also don't think it bodes well for a guy that, towards the end of the season, you were splitting snaps with another guy.
Oh, no.
And I know there was a report that the Packers would like him back if the financials worked out. I'm like, yeah, that financial better not be a whole lot.
But he's got Drew Rosenhaus for an agent.
He could. I don't know off the top of my head. So
yeah, he changed agents to get Rosenhaus, so he's not going to be a bargain.
Yeah. So, but I think I'll be fine if John Runyon moves on because use your money elsewhere. Use it. Give me two safeties.
But you can't neglect that offensive line.
No, I think you got to
get hurt.
Well, you can get more in the free agency and drafting that. I'm saying don't spend big money on John Runyon.
No.
That's what
I'm just saying.
I'm not saying screw guards or offensive line. I just feel like if you got a guy that was already losing snaps, why bring him back for money that you could use elsewhere?
That's a good point. I was just thinking, but at least he could be on the field. But again, it's the money factor.
Mm-hmm. If it's going to cost a few mil, okay, whatever, bring him in. So, but they're going to have to figure out long-term center because Myers, there's been issues with him and he's going to be free agent after next year. That's why I know some people are frustrated or maybe not frustrated, annoyed when they're seeing mock drafts in Green Bay drafting an offensive lineman with one of their first two picks. Like all the changes that the NFL world has gone, it's still one in the trenches, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Offensive line and defense, up the middle.
You got to protect that quarterback. You really do.
Yep.
They
look at Aaron Rodgers, right?
Yeah, they've de-emphasized the running backs, but still in all, one of the Packers the best at the end of the season.
When Aaron Jones was out on that field.
Bet. Aaron Jones was back. That made
healthy.
A big difference. Yep. Absolutely.
Yep, 100%. Completely agree with you. So, yeah, it sucks about Bakhtiari, but it's because I honestly feel like he was kind of trending towards like a Nick Collins, where he maybe a Hall of Fame.
I agree with you. When he was at his peak, but he just couldn't maintain it for a long enough period of time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it stinks. But speaking of Rodgers, I'm just not to bring this up again, but I'm just really glad we don't have to deal with that drama. He was on another podcast and has apparently caused more like sound bites and all that. I saw the headline. I'm like, I'm not even gonna go down it.
That's his mission in life now.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna. I'm not listening to it. I'm not gonna read about it. I don't have to deal with it anymore.
No, he's
I
done.
love the guy as a player for my team and
yeah.
appreciated what he did on the field at Lambeau Field and on the road in Super Bowl. I'm just glad I don't have to like open up a show every morning and be like, good Lord, did you hear what Roger said now?
No, we don't have to do that anymore. How much do you think Jordan Love's going to get?
He's going to get 40-some million a year.
You think so? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. And that can't happen till May. So, because of the restructure there. But, hey, guy balled out at the end. So,
yeah, he made himself some money. There's no question about it.
Mm-hmm. I just hope, and I don't know if there's a thing when it comes to starting quarterbacks in Green Bay. You look at the last couple towards the end of their careers when they kind of got a little weird. I hope Jordan doesn't get that way. You know, we're talking drama stuff the last couple of years.
Favre and Rodgers both.
I know. That's why I don't know is that a tradition that's turning into something over there? I just hope that doesn't become the case. Because honestly, I never thought Aaron would have been like this.
I didn't think he was that weird either, but man, he's an odd duck.
Again, I loved what he did on the field as a player.
Absolutely.
It's just I do not miss having to talk about what he's saying in podcasts and all this stuff now. I can't
imagine what meetings at the end were like between he and LaFleur. LaFleur had to be really frustrated with him.
I feel like, and I just feel like, LaFleur was in a spot where, okay, he had a quarterback that helped him win some games too. But I feel like for a first-time head coach to come in and have Rodgers was probably a benefit for him to lean on to have a talented player. But I feel like now after, a couple of years when LaFleur kind of graduated and he was ready, to like, okay, I'm more comfortable as a play caller, head coach. Let's roll with this. It kind of graduated. And I think he benefited too from last year, growing as a play caller. So
I was going to say, I'd like to pose a receiver defer on that, but how comfortable are you with LaFleur's play calling in some of these clutch situations?
I think I thought he did very well last year. Yeah, I thought he did very well.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he did well, but I think he's definitely room to grow.
Oh yeah, I thought he did very well.
He got better, but I think the quarterback paid attention to his calls too.
That's there's the more I think the evidence we see, the more you have to wonder how much was it 12.
Yep.
I'm not trying to pick on the guy too much, but he's a Hall of Famer, one of the best throwers of all time. But there's how many times did we see after the game those still films like, why is that guy wide open and not even getting attention?
Yeah, the last few years from his shoulder pads up, he changed. He wasn't, I don't know what his thought process was, but I agree with you. You watch and say, why did he used to throw to Devontae Adams and there were guys in the middle of the field wide open. I mean, it was just, it was almost like a defiant throw.
Yeah.
That's not the play I wanted. I'm not throwing to that guy. I'm throwing to Devontae. Well, everybody knew that too. And so Devontae was never open at the end.
That's why I really loved it that Jordan Love finished one of the top quarterbacks in passing yards last year, second in touchdown passes.
Yeah. He came on.
The receiver that had the most yards was Jaden Reed at like 700 some.
He spread it.
Spread the ball all around with those youngsters. Not to say that's always going to be the case if somebody develops to a number one, but that was a nice change of pace too, to see that.
Receiver defer, how much less pressure is there on a general manager when you know who your quarterback is going to be, not just this year, but going forward?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at the Bears and you look at, Detroit's going to have to face this pretty soon because their quarterback is getting old. The Vikings are right in the middle of it right now. How much viability do you see the talk of Russell Wilson coming to Minnesota?
I think he's meeting with Pittsburgh any day now as the first one up. But I think if you're Minnesota, go get your young guy in this draft now. Like I know Brandon talked about, he's like, if you're going to make a move, be aggressive and trade up and get that guy. Don't like, we'll find one in the third round. That doesn't
Well,
usually work.
yeah, the
a whole
Vikings
lot.
have always found players down the draft. I mean, Randy Moss, and they've
Mm-hmm.
gotten Jefferson. You know, they weren't the top picks in the draft because the Vikings are good enough to always be down a ways on the draft pick. But yeah, I agree with you. They've, you know, Mitch Trubisky and some of the other guys that they've drafted over the years, or not
Not
Trubisky,
Bridgewater was a
but
32nd.
yeah, but then the
Christian
kid
Ponder.
Christian Ponder,
Yeah.
that's the guy I'm thinking of. And you know, but because it sounds like what's his name, quarterback now, Cousins is going to go to Atlanta. His wife's from Atlanta. They spend a lot of time in Atlanta, so it'll be fun to follow.
Yep, definitely kind of. I know I never went through the 70s. People like to remind me of that all the time, and I'm okay with that.
But
I've
even in the
gone through.
70s, the Packers still had, you know, they had some good quarterbacks.
Mhm.
They just had miserable teams.
Right. I'm okay with that. Keep winning. That's all I care about. All right, third and final hour kicking off on this Friday morning. Appreciate you tuning in for the final hour here. We're going to talk some more football coming up here because we got free agency primer, and I just saw this little nugget here. Field Yates from ESPN on Kirk Cousins in this NFL. This is from Kevin Seifert, who covers the Vikings for ESPN. But Field Yates on Kirk Cousins in this ESPN NFL free agency cheat sheet. Quote, if you told me that Cousins winds up signing a 2-year, $100 million fully guaranteed contract, I wouldn't be stunned.
I'd sign that in a minute.
All right. Holy
Yeah.
moly. And honestly, I think Atlanta would do it because I think they're a little desperate right now. Arthur Blank's up there in age, wants a Super Bowl, looks at that division. I think he'd do that in a heartbeat too.
Yeah, I think Cousins definitely an upgrade.
Mhm.
And, Arthur Blank's got plenty of money.
Yep.
But he started Home Depot, I think.
Was it over there?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think he's the guy that started Home Depot.
Man. So, trying to see if there's anything Green Bay related on here, but not a whole lot coming up here right now, it looks like. But, somebody had texted in, what kind of safeties are you looking for if you could pick? I mean, there's a lot. I know a lot of Packer fans want Xavier McKinney. I would like Jordan Fuller from the Rams because he also played for Jeff Hafley at Ohio State. And I was reading a little bit earlier this week. And this was when Jeff Hafley was first hired, but I reread it. Jordan Fuller said that his nickname was the Wizard, talking about Jeff Hafley at Ohio State, saying that I think his superpower is his mind and how he sees the game and how he understands the game, his in-game adjustments and having us ready for certain looks that offenses would give us and stuff like that. It really felt like he gave us a winning edge. So if you want a little familiarity with safety, maybe.
What got my attention in that statement, in-game
I knew it.
adjustments.
Yes.
In-game adjustments,
Yep.
which we never saw or
Mhm.
very rarely saw in the previous defensive regime in Green Bay. But in-game adjustments.
I was wondering if you were going to get that.
That's the one that I caught.
Yep, that's definitely the one I saw on there too. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind bringing in a safety that's got familiarity, is familiar with him, and
no.
he's still in his 20s.
Absolutely.
And he was a captain with the Rams and was a big part of their
Shortcuts the system.
Yep, and was a big part of their Super Bowl from a couple of years ago too. So, we got a mixture of some veterans and some younger guys. Maybe the younger ones you can give 4-year deal, maybe a veteran or 2-year, still draft a safety and add some depth that way. But I don't know. I do you feel like that window's now back open up for Green Bay? Take advantage right now, Super Bowl window?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Based off how the season went?
You bet. How the season developed. I mean, you saw so many guys improve. Of course, Jordan Love is the headline, but 2 tight ends.
Yeah.
Really, really came on. Some of the other wide receivers really came on. We keep Watson healthy. That's going to make a big difference. I don't know if he's got chronic hamstrings or whatever his problem is, but if we can keep him healthy and who knows how many picks they've got in the draft, inevitably they're going to be a wide receiver in there someplace. I would be surprised if there's not in the draft, whether it's 3rd round, 5th round, 7th round, I don't know. But no, but I think that offensive line is going to be, and keeping Aaron Jones healthy, I don't know if they would have their eye on another running back.
Well, let me ask you this.
Keep A.J. Dillon. I don't know what they're going to do.
I know I mentioned it a couple days ago, but go back to last year training camp. What was the rumor? That they inquired about Jonathan Taylor when Jonathan Taylor was holding out.
Yeah. Seriously inquired about him too.
And I had forgotten this, or I might have missed it, but it resurfaced just a couple days ago. Jay Glazer, and Jay Glazer's pretty good. He's not one of those that just shoots off stuff out
he's
there.
Pretty insider.
He said at the trade deadline, Green Bay inquired on Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I heard
Saquon Barkley is a free agent now.
How much are those guys going to want?
That's the question. But would you be upset if they paired up Saquon and Aaron Jones?
Not a bit.
I wouldn't be either.
No, because Saquon, because Saquon Barkley can catch the ball out of the backfield too.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen him do it against the Packers the last couple of years. He's hurt the Packers tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I wouldn't be against that at all.
I just
Dollar's got to be play part of this though.
Right. And you go back to that Taylor rumor, then what Jay Glazer said about Saquon, it makes you kind of think a little bit. Would they?
Well, they're thinking about, if they're inquiring about these guys, they're thinking about them.
Mm-hmm.
They're thinking about adding a running back.
Yep.
AJ Dillon, I don't know if he doesn't fit in the picture anymore. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, because you mentioned it earlier too. When did this team really start to find its way and play really well down the stretch? When Aaron Jones in the running game was working.
You bet.
And you pair those two up. That would have to be the thing if they were serious, like you said, money wise, and Saquon would have to be okay with sharing the backfield with Aaron Jones. But that would also, I would think, one, prepare because you'd have an adequate other option if somebody did get hurt, but maybe extend the careers a little bit more too, so it's not so much wear and tear.
Oh, absolutely. Because you look at a guy like Christian McCaffrey out of San Francisco. Man, oh man, he gets beat up.
Yeah.
He plays a lot of plays. He's handling not only playing a lot of plays, but he's involved in a lot of plays, carrying the ball, receiving the ball. This guy really and truly gets banged up.
Mm-hmm.
So far, so good. But you just expect one of these times he's not gonna get up.
Lot of wear and tear on
Yep.
that. And that's the thing too, is like he was in the same draft as Aaron Jones. He's also a year and a half younger than Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones doesn't have as much wear and tear as Christian
not
McCaffrey,
even close,
though.
not even close.
So,
Because even when McCaffrey was down in Carolina, he was a centerpiece of their offense.
mm-hmm.
They just weren't any good at all anyplace else.
Right.
And so he's got a lot of miles on that body.
Yep. So I wouldn't be surprised if you hear rumors about them looking at some running backs too. Just based, if this was 2 years ago, I would have laughed. But I know when the Jonathan Taylor thing came out, we were like, what? That doesn't make sense, But they're how do you help out a younger quarter? And the thing is, you're not paying your receivers or tight ends. They're all rookies, run rookie deals.
Yep.
So
I'd like to see him get a little speed.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That breakaway speed, like an Isaiah Pacheco for the Chiefs. So, that
exactly,
sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But
who that is, I don't know. I don't follow the colleges that much, but if that guy is out there, that because Kansas City has gotten him, and Tyreek Hill went to Miami, and Deebo Samuel. I mean, a guy like that could really, really make the dynamic.
To answer this question from a texter, did Watson have injury issues in college? I've got his. He played double-digit games every year in college, 14, 16, 10, and 12, so it doesn't
And
look
it's
like
not
it.
injuries. Mm-hmm. It's just core pound of the core with the hamstrings.
Mm-hmm.
I think he just pulls them when he's running. I don't think it's caused by getting hit or anything like that. I wouldn't call them injuries. I just call him, he's got
those soft tissues.
Yeah, soft tissue injury. And that's concerning because that's not caused so much by getting hit. And I don't know if it's he's not enough liquid, if he's not warming up right. I don't know if he's lifting the weights the wrong way. I think a lot of things can play into it, but I think if they can keep healthy, I think he can put up some big numbers.
Hopefully your university down there can help him out, because that's what they're Madison, UW-Madison, they're sending him to him and Eric Stokes, some sort of clinic down there to try to figure some stuff out. So
Good.
Putting the pressure on you Badgers
I hope they can
to get this
up with
done. Never missing a game again due to a hamstring injury.
That would be nice. But, and that's I'm sure that's frustrating to him too.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get hit. I didn't turn an ankle. It's just,
Well, it was the Chiefs game, right? Yeah. When he was running and then he just collapsed on the sideline there.
Yeah, it's just frustrating I'm sure he's just as frustrated as we are as fans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's one of those things that for whatever reason, his body doesn't hold up.
And remember, as Dr. Crow has educated us many times, when you do that with that hamstring, you get more scar tissue kind of building up in there too. So, but hopefully we'll figure it out.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to a nice season next year.
I think we're going to see an aggressive offseason from Green Bay.
It almost seems that way.
Yeah.
Well, I think receiver to firm, most fans expect the Packers to have an aggressive offseason because let's face it, they played better the last half of the season. they played like a playoff team, and they made the playoffs. They,
Probably
wiped
should have went to the NC
Dallas out.
Championship.
Oh, there's no question about it. That San Francisco game, that still is one that's gonna, the kicker is gonna be, I don't know
Mhm.
how he shows up at the facility.
Well, and then I go to Goody's postseason after season presser. It was a couple weeks after that, and I mean, word for word said we outplayed them, talking about the 49ers. And I think, how that game ended, maybe that's a little like, okay, bad taste in our mouth. Let's take it. Let's use that. Let's improve our weaknesses. Let's be a little maybe not uber aggressive, but we're going to be players in free agency and add in or fill your major holes, create the depth through the draft.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. And the salary cap went up.
Hmm.
The Packers have money. Let's face it. It's not that the Packers don't have money. The cost sharing is one thing, but the Packers also have money in the pot. It's not like they're not hand to mouth as far as an operating business.
Hmm.
They've got plenty of money, and that's not going to change because of the ownership structure or the money. The money all goes back to the organization. It doesn't go in the owner's pocket. So it's a different situation. So, you know, you got to control the salary cap. You don't want to get underwater with that. And they've done a good job doing that. But now, with where we're at, probably getting ready Bakhtiari, saving that cap money, salary cap going up. You're going to have to give Jordan Love more money. But still, in all, a lot of these other young receivers are still on those rookie contracts. And this is the time where I'd be going to get some of these free agent safeties.
Hmm.
And I don't know where else. I think an offensive lineman needs to come in here.
I think the other position that not talking a whole lot about, but I'm curious if they do make a move, it's Devondre Campbell.
Well, I think he's gone, isn't he?
He's
Or
not
gonna be
yet.
gone, isn't he?
He's not yet. And he's under contract yet. And, with that 4-3 defense, if you're talking straight base 4-3, it's Quay, it's McDuffie. And, are they going to move on from Devondre Campbell before the new league year?
Well, I'm hoping that, Quay Walker, I'm hoping this brings life to his game because I think we're all, I don't know, disappointed is the right word, but frustrated the way he's performed
I don't think he
since
was in
he's
the
been.
right system.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that maybe this system will allow him more freedom. He's got to have more instincts, natural instincts for the game that he has shown. I'd just like to see him have a chance in a new system to do what obviously they thought he could do when they drafted him first. I expected more out of him as a first round draft choice coming out of Georgia and watching him play at Georgia. He's not anything like he was at Georgia, but is that the system?
I think it is. I mean, I think he's played better than Campbell has the last couple of years.
Oh yeah, I
Though,
agree with
too.
that.
So,
I agree with that.
um, but no, I'm expecting big things from him this year, playing that weak side linebacker spot. So, all right. Tell you what, let's take a quick break here. We'll get back to maybe some more baseball and hoops talk. But keep your comments coming. Hit us up with the text 715-830-1912. We'll take a quick break and be back in just a couple minutes. forgot to get to it yesterday with Brandon here, but we'll do the Carpet City Flooring Center local spotlights, and we have a lot of teams, a lot of individual athletes that we could give a shout out to. We're gonna give a shout out though too for the Elk Mound High School powerlifting team. They swept the state championship. They swept the Raw Division 2 powerlifting state competition. First place boys, first place girls, and first place combined. So shout outs and congrats to Elk Mounds for that. But let's talk some more hoops coming up here. So we got the Badgers going to be in action against Purdue this weekend. Right now, I mean, we were looking at Luke and I were kind of having some fun on Wednesday. Joe Lenardi's bracketology and picking our Final Four based off that.
Mm-hmm.
I had 3 number 1 seeds already in there. Like I feel like it should almost be open and up in the air, but then I'm like, but a lot of those teams towards the top have always kind of been there at the top this year.
Yep. I think there are going to be some surprises. Like a team like Alabama, I think is going to be pretty good. And when you get to tournament time, it's all different. It really is. It's what goes on in the regular season just doesn't seem to follow that much in the tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like always, there are always a lot of surprise teams that move forward. I mean, the first day you got some that no way they can win, and they, a 13 will beat a 3 or whatever it is, and it's going to happen again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't look for Purdue to go very far. I could be dead wrong, but I've said it before. I don't think their guard play is strong enough, and some of these teams have so many quick, taller guards that I think they're going to make a big problem for Purdue. I don't think Purdue's going to go very far at all.
I not to keep beating this to a pulp, but I feel like Iowa State's the team that everybody's like, how did they get there? They're number 6 right now.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, there are some surprising teams, but there are a lot of these teams that we never see. You never see them during the year.
No,
and they play in their own competition. So how good are they?
Mm-hmm.
Some of these leagues, the Horizon League, which teams around here, Green Bay and other, but there are some other, the Sun Slope League or some of these leagues. You don't know how good those teams are. Well, then they come up against some of the better teams supposedly in the country, and they give them all they want and then some.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always fun. It's always fun. There will never ever be a perfect bracket. Artificial intelligence included. I wish they get some of these artificial intelligence things to fill out a bracket and see how they do.
Yeah.
Because that's all done with logic, and this tournament is not logic.
Yeah. Yeah. That, you know what? Hudson won the bracket thing last year. So, I mean, come on. And he's all logic, though, too. So, he's not doing one this year, he said.
Why?
So that's why I said, why? Are you like retiring because you won? And you know what his response was? It's like winning the Super Bowl and going out on top.
Good for him.
I'm like, oh, you're too young to be thinking that way already. But I think he still will. But anyways, talking about the bracket, where there was a talk that a couple weeks ago that it could expand, and there was a number being floated out there at 96.
Well, I've heard that. I've heard 72 or
now 76 seems to be
76.
where a couple weeks ago it was like 96 was a number being thrown out there. But now it seems like it's inevitable, and it could be 76, where 4 at-large bids will be added to entice the power conferences. And after a field of 72 is determined, the final 4 spots will go to the best remaining regular season conference champions.
You're getting to the point where you're not having many teams left that have winning records, and the NIT will only take teams with winning records.
Yeah.
So that could be a death knell to the NIT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like, the more you expand, you got the NIT, then there's the CBI that's after that too. Yeah. So, no,
it's nice to get, and I don't blame a coach for getting your team in any place you can just to keep them playing, because you don't get better if you don't play.
Yep. I mean, that's why you get college football bowl games, because they get extra practices and such too, right?
Absolutely.
You might be going to a lower level bowl or whatever, but those coaches get that extra time with those players.
Yep.
For practice. So, yeah, it feels like it's going to get bigger. It's going to expand. So, but maybe, yeah, that first number that was kind of being floated out there initially was nice. I'm like 96, geez, but 72 to 76, okay. But honestly, I feel like we're going to keep expanding this thing. It's not going to be the end of it. I mean,
No, it's money.
yeah,
Money,
like
money, money.
I was the one person I was surprised that was in favor of it. He was on Dan Patrick show last week and a half ago. Was Boeheim, former Syracuse head coach. He was in favor of it, expanding it even more. And the point he made too is like, well, when John Wooden was coaching, he didn't want it. And it was like only 16 teams or something like that. And
Oh yeah, you had to be a conference champion. If you didn't win your conference, or you didn't win the tournament, like the old ACC where Duke and North Carolina play, you go undefeated in the conference. You didn't win the tournament, you don't go to the NCAA's.
mm-hmm.
And so what's more important?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So
I would think the regular season would be more important
that's
than
what
the
I
tournament,
feel like,
because you played everybody in the conference and you came out on top versus this tournament where you obviously you're not going to play everybody in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
But I never could understand that logic.
Okay, so I'm not the only one with that. I always thought the regular season meant more.
To me, it does too.
And not to, Milwaukee wins this Horizon one. Great, they're going to be in it and such, but then it's like you're also taking away a potential team that could be an automatic, bid that way. So an at-large bid that way. So I don't know. Like I agree with you. I feel like the regular season one's more important.
I think they're starting to see that. I think that's why they want to expand it, so that when these regular season champions get upset, they still got a chance to be in the tournament from some of these one bid leagues,
Mm-hmm.
because there are some teams that are pretty darn good. And if they get upset by a mediocre team, well, that conference isn't going to go very far. But if you can give them an at-large bid, that makes a difference. So I think that's part of the reason why they're going there.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
More than likely.
Yep, I agree. It's all over, though. I mean, college football is probably going to expand to 14 already. They haven't even gotten to 12 yet, and they're going to do to 14 at like 2026. And then kind of favoriting more to the Big Ten and the SEC, where more teams from those two conferences would be getting in. They're talking 3 from the Big Ten and SEC. So
yeah, and then there'll be a lawsuit. Somebody will sue them for discrimination, and on we go.
mm-hmm.
But the dollars are getting big.
It
these schools have to pay NIL. That's something in their budgets that were never there before. And yeah, you got boosters that contributed a lot, but there is still some money that has to come from the university for this.
Mm-hmm. Let me read these quotes from that Nick Saban thing I mentioned to you a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
So this was from ESPN, talking about a couple different factors and such. But Saban told ESPN the way some players on his team acted immediately after the loss against Michigan and in the ensuing days, quote, contributed to his decision to hang it up after the 2023 season. Quote, I want to be clear that wasn't the reason, but some of those events certainly contributed. I was really disappointed in the way that the players acted after the game. You got to win with class. You got to lose with class. We had our opportunities to win the game and we didn't do it. Then showing your blank, let's just say but the other word, and being frustrated and throwing helmets and doing that stuff, that's not who we are and what we've promoted in our program. He also talked about how the way of college football landscape has changed, has influenced his decision. He estimated that maybe 70 or 80% of the players you talk to wanted to know about their playing time for the upcoming season and how much they would be making in NIL money.
And a lot of those schools, you get to Alabama, you get to Georgia, you get to LSU, you get to Ohio State, Michigan, they go there expecting they're not going to lose.
Yeah.
You go to Wisconsin and, I think every one of us are realistic. Wisconsin's not going to go undefeated. These teams think they're going to go undefeated. And it's almost like somebody stole their birthright when they lose a game. And so then they don't know how to handle it. And that's why they act like they do. And, it's a shame that it's like that. But again, they've been spoiled by the riches of victory is what it amounts to. I mean, these teams have won a lot. Now, I'm not saying this is the whole roster, obviously not, but a few of the guys, and obviously on Saban's team, there were more than he thought there would be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
But I think these guys get spoiled by winning. They think they're going to go to these programs, and that's why they say, I'm going there, I'm going to win, which they more are going to win more than they're not. But still, they're not going to win them all.
Is now, you mentioned that quote though too about, playing time, because for the longest time, I mean, you go to Alabama or one of those teams, you're not going to play right away because the depth there was so great, and you kind of had to
You
wait
got
your
to
turn.
earn your time.
Yeah.
You got to earn your play. I mean, how many times we talked about Bo Ryan and his basketball program and the freshman.
Yep.
You got to earn your time on the floor.
Yeah. And now
and it's not, coaching is not a democracy. You think you're doing well enough to get on the floor. The coach doesn't think so. You don't get on the floor or on the field because the coach is the final arbiter in this whole decision.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we could think of a lot of former coaches that probably would hate to coach in this era.
Oh, man.
Bo, I think, would be one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Barry Alvarez. That sort of, those type of coaches.
Woody Hayes. Can you imagine Woody Hayes with an NIL paying these players?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness, Gertie.
But
I mean, you look at all the way back. I mean, you got Bud Wilkinson and Darrell Royal at Texas and Bear Bryant at Alabama. I mean, these guys ruled their programs. They were the dictator, so to speak. And now they're not.
Yeah.
These coaches now are not.
Yeah. But, playing time now, it's like with the transfer portal, you don't have to be patient to wait your turn.
No.
You might have to go to a lower level team or whatever, but if you want to play right away, I guess that's a factor into it. So, but makes it easier to move on from a school. You don't have to wait that year. You know.
And I was not surprised by Jim Harbaugh's decision. I didn't think it was coming that fast, but I wasn't surprised by his decision at all because he's taken some guff over the years at Michigan. You don't produce, it's not just the players at some of those schools either. That we have to add in. It's the alumni.
Yeah.
Those people swing a big stick because they spend a lot of money.
Well, I think if you ask a lot of Ohio State alum, they may say Ryan Day's on the hot seat.
Oh, I would think he is on the hot seat. Absolutely, he's on the hot seat.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so too. So it's not just the
win
players.
Every game besides the Michigan one. You're on the hot seat.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can't go 11-1. But I think it's now it used to be you dealt with the players. Well, now you deal with the players because of NIL and the transfer portal. It's a different dealing with the players now. It used to be you had them and you had them there. They're not going anyplace. Now you got to treat them with kid gloves. You got to be a real diplomat to handle these players because they're, in some cases they're spoiled.
There's when we have Joe Grabowski on and Bill a little bit, Ferrario.
Oh, they'll tell you what a difference it is.
Well, and one phrase that Joe likes to kind of throw out there is, you played with fear when you were with Wisconsin and under Coach Alvarez. You were afraid to make a mistake. You were afraid and to show up late. And
well, I'll tell you, and you hear stories from those guys and I got brothers that played down there. And some of those assistant coaches are you don't want to have the wrath of the assist. Chuck McBride was the defensive coordinator when my younger brother played. And he said, no holes barred, both the spoken words that came out of his mouth, plus the actions. I mean, it got physical. I mean, there were times where you better have your cup on because you might get a size 12 where you don't want it. I mean, it's a different handling of players. These guys will tell you.
There was a couple of instances that, or a couple stories I'll quickly tell that Joe's told on the pod before, but, so like when they just talked to Barry again for their latest pod, they were getting everything set up and Joe's like, even to this day, that's why when he comes on Thursdays, he's here like 15 minutes early.
Yep.
That's from Barry Alvarez in the meetings that they always had, because he would always say, like, if you weren't there 15 minutes early, one of the assistant coaches would lock the meeting door. And
Lombardi
then you could hear,
time. It's Lombardi time.
And you could hear the other guys like trying to get in, and they were late.
You're on time, you're late.
So they were getting ready for Barry, and they're thinking, okay, it's like 32 minutes before. They just want to make sure they were going to be down in the lobby 15 minutes before. Barry texted them and said, I'm here. It was 32 minutes. They were freaking out. They were like sweating because they were late. They thought 32 minutes, but they had in their mind that
Well, that's how much the coach was in charge.
Mm-hmm.
And now, I don't know.
Yeah, and
what it's
Bill
like.
was like, he got yelled at during the interview because Joe and Barry were talking, and Bill cut him off, and Barry turned to him and said, "Are you not going to let us talk?" So it still strikes fear into those guys. That
And I'll tell you, you talk to those guys, and when the coaches talk to them, that's a whole lot different than the boss talking to us here. Their language is pretty graphic, pretty rough, pretty direct. They'll all tell you that they didn't want to be that late because they didn't want to be talked to like that. Because I mean, it could be pretty nasty. But
Mhm.
I think that's had to tone down now, so these guys don't become overly offended. And I'm not defending that kind of conversation or that kind of talk. I'm just saying that's the way it was. And I don't think maybe it is. I'm not in the locker room, but to this point, I'm not going to put up with that. This season's over. I'm gone. You couldn't do that when Joe and Bill were there. You were there. You were a Badger, and you were a Badger till it was over.
Yep, I agree. So it's really interesting. Kind of cool to hear some of those stories.
Oh,
and
it always is.
just. But again, you think about today. Would that fly? And they don't think it would.
No, that's what I said.
No.
They got too many outs. They're making too much money, and they can transfer any place, anytime.
Yep.
Because there's always somebody that's going to welcome them. You got any playing time, especially, you're going to be welcomed by a lot of different programs.
And the one thing they noted too, when we were talking about it yesterday, I don't know what we were getting on, but they made the comment about, now these days you hear players, talking about their coach and calling them by their first name and such.
Oh, that's a no-no.
Yeah, and that's what they're like. It's still coach. And Joe's like, I don't call my dad by his first name. Just that might, and I'm not going to call Coach Alvarez Barry. It's still
now,
coach.
I mean, I'm sure now they out of respect they still call him coach.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, and now if you said Barry, it's more acceptable. Barry, but still, and it shows you the respect that Barry Alvarez got from his players. They respected the fact that he was going to make them a winner. He changed it. He changed the whole schedule at Wisconsin, the whole aura of how it's not just we cheer because he's a Badger. No, you're going to be a Badger. You're going to be a winner.
And they talk about that clip when he said, "You better buy your season tickets now." And Barry was talking about that because I think he was annoyed by the question from that reporter and all that too. But no, it's kind of cool to see after all these years, these guys who are in their 40s and they're still scared of the quote Godfather.
Oh yeah, well, I mean it's fun to talk to those guys. It's fun to hear them on the mic, but it's fun to talk to them when the mic's off.
Oh yeah,
because you get some pretty good stories.
The one thing that I found out too, apparently Barry is a big Steven Seagal movie fan. Like that was one of the things on their road trips. They would always watch it. They had to watch a Steven Seagal film because Barry Alvarez is a big Steven Seagal fan.
Well, there's plenty of action in Steven Seagal movies. I'll tell you what.
I'm like that's the stuff I like, hearing about is stuff like that. But Steven Seagal, he was a big fan of. So, but he's got a driver down there. They call, driving Barry around and all that stuff. So it's more the Godfather.
Oh yeah, and I've seen, I've seen, and just a funny story or side story that again more of these. My brother is remember the Elks down there in Madison, and one of the guys that was one of the because I'd go in there with him once in a while on Friday night for fish or whatever. He said, "See that guy there? I mean, he's a great big guy. Looks like Bill or Joe. These guys that come in." That was Barry's driver. That was the guy that took care of Barry. And a nice guy. I had to yell at him, because the university ties that they had. But yeah, I don't know if Fickle has a guy like that or not. But Barry had a guy that was with him, and he knew how to handle himself, and he was big enough to handle a lot of other guys that did it too. So yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but it's because they got movie clips of their pod, so I've been watching some of that too, and Barry still looks like he can go out there and go wearing a Cowboys polo though because of his grandson.
Oh sure, and I don't blame him for that at
Jake
all.
over there.
I don't blame him for that at all.
Nope. All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll make some picks for some of the games coming up here. Got Badgers, got Marquette, got the Bucks, all that good stuff. We'll be back in just a few minutes. time for some picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room right here in Eau Claire. Reminder, if you're looking for somewhere to catch the game or catch some of the races and make some picks for the races, you can head on over to the Elbow Room located right next to the Banbury Place. Also, grab a Man Cave Lights while you're there. And don't forget, you can pre-register for our bracket challenge already on our website, sportstalk1051.com. Just click on that Fan Cave tab and sign up so you don't forget. Let's start with an NBA game tonight. Bucks taking on the Lakers. It's in La La Land. Bucks favored by 1.5 points in this game.
How's LeBron's health? I heard something about LeBron's nursing a few things.
He's always nursing a few things.
That's true,
so
I'll take the Bucks.
I'll go with the Bucks too in this one.
Yep, I'll take.
I think they'll bounce back from that Golden State game. So
they better not play like they did more than once.
Yeah. Let's go to then on Sunday. Actually, before that, let's go to this should be a good one. Minnesota versus Cleveland tomorrow. Or today, excuse me. Minnesota versus Cleveland today.
I'll take Cleveland without Karl Anthony Towns. Cleveland's pretty darn good.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to take Cleveland
too.
Yeah,
Mitchell has really made a difference with that team.
Let's go with then the Bucks game on Sunday as they take on the Clippers.
I think Clippers will get them.
Then, yeah, I think they'll bounce back and the Clippers get that one too.
Yep.
I want to do this one too because I think this might be an intriguing one. Boston at Phoenix. This one's on Saturday.
Boston at Phoenix.
Boston's lost the last.
Yeah, they've kind of come down, but I don't know. Kevin Durant seems uninterested.
Trying to see.
I want to go with Boston.
And Devin Booker's a game time decision right now. I'm going to go Boston in this one too. Definitely. So, then let's do some college ones. We got Badgers and Purdue.
I was early when I came in. I thought I'm picking the Badgers, but then when you started talking and reminding me that Purdue, even though they've won the conference, they've got the seed in the Big Ten tournament, but they don't want to take a chance on losing. And I don't know how much a loss now would affect them anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm still taking Purdue. I if they play Edie half the game, I don't know. And Purdue's not that good, but the Badgers just have been so shaky. I got to take Purdue.
I'm taking Purdue though too, and plus senior night or senior day for Purdue, right?
True,
over there. So, yeah, I'm going to take Purdue in this one as well. But if AJ Storr and Blackwell and even McGee can play like they did last night, maybe
Crowell can stay out of foul trouble.
Yes.
I mean, guarding Edie is not easy. I don't, envy anybody having to do that. But if Crowell can play above his pay grade, so to speak, then I think he might be able to do something that'll help.
Marquette takes on Xavier. I'm going to take Marquette.
I'm going to take Xavier.
That'll be 3 losses in a row.
Yeah, without Kolek, they're hurting.
All right.
They're not as good.
Well, I think they get that W to end up.
Xavier's got a nice team.
Does Milwaukee win the Horizon League?
No.
I don't think so either. And not enough to get in the tournament with their little run right here too.
No.
So, but all right, there's your picks for the weekend. Got plenty of basketball to pay attention to.
Oh yeah, and it's starting to get where it's good basketball now. It gets kind of stale when you get some of these teams and some of these games towards the end of the year, and it's hard to watch some of these tournaments that are on right now because some of these leagues you have no idea. First time I've ever heard of some of these schools, so they're hard to watch. So it'll be more fun to watch them now.
Yep. Reminder too, Saturday. Let me bring up the brackets here for you in case you want to check out some boys high school basketball, because Saturday these will be the games that whoever wins, they're going to Madison. They're going to be going to Madison for the state tournament here. Let me just bring them on up so I get you the accurate info here. Marshfield, we'll throw Marshfield in there. Marshfield,
absolutely,
a 1 seed going up against Neenah. Looks like that game's going to be at Spash. It says here on the WIA bracket here. So
I want Marshfield to go in there. We're going to win. Don't play not to lose. I mean, it just makes me sick of this Chippewa Falls hockey team losing that game that they lost down there. And I've talked to some of the the parents and grandparents, and I said, what happened? They said, well, we're still trying to figure that out, but we've got a pretty good idea. But again, play to win. Don't play not to lose, from the coaches all the way down to the players.
River Falls, the 2 seed who upset Wausau East, who was the 1, taking on number 1 West Salem. That game is going to be at Neilsville tomorrow, 1 o'clock. We've got, let me just kind of scroll through here.
Somebody plays at Eau Claire Memorial.
Yes, it's coming up here. It's Prescott versus Gale Electric Trempealeau is playing at Eau Claire Memorial.
Okay.
GET there. So,
Owen Withy, where's Owen Withy play? Aren't they still in it?
Yes, they are. I'm bringing it up here. Just give me a second here. Did Gale Electric Trempealeau win?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't followed that much.
The double check here. So, yes, Owen Withy also plays. Cameron versus Aquinas. That one's at Eau Claire North. So we got a couple of them up here. So Division 5. Yeah, Owen Withy plays Solon Springs. That's going to be all the way up in Ashland, it says here.
Oh, wow.
That's quite the... I've had to make that a few times.
Yep. Well, it's good weather. It's not a problem.
Medford,
it's not a problem on the road. So get up there and support those teams on Saturday night.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, and especially around here, we got a couple of them in action, right?
Yeah.
Got a couple of
them.
Get
as many teams down there as we can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't. So I've got two things up here.
Who's still in the Division 1?
Marshfield.
But I mean, as far as across the state, do you have that? Do you have the whole bracket up there?
Yeah.
The Sun Prairie West. I went to last Saturday night. I went to the regional finals down there. I don't know what region it was, but Sun Prairie West, which is the new Sun Prairie High School.
They lost to Janesville Craig, who's a 7 seed.
They did.
Mm-hmm.
What was the score? Did they?
It was 74-71, it looks like.
I went to the games last Saturday night, Sun Prairie West and Verona. You know what the score of that game was? 105-101. How many times have you seen a high school game in Wisconsin where both teams score 100 points? And I said after the game, I said to my brother when we were walking out, they played Janesville Craig. Sun Prairie. I mean, it was just a track meet, no defense, wild shots. And I said, they're going to find a different type of game against Janesville Craig because, you know, I'll say it, a little better coaches.
Mm-hmm.
They know how to deal with these sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, they go from scoring 105 to scoring 71.
Mm-hmm.
When you got to play against some teams that'll play defense, then it's a different story. So, but that was the most unbelievable high school game I've ever watched in my life down there. 105-101. Can you walk out of the gym? Nice game, coach. You got 101. Yeah, but we lost. That doesn't happen very often.
Yep. Yeah, it is GET. There's a typo on one other place that has Elk Mountain winning it, but GET did win. Just to clarify that. So, there you have it. There's some of the, and we got girls basketball continuing today. States over there, as we mentioned, McDonald Central and Baldwin Woodville did fall, but still congratulations on a good season for both teams.
Absolutely.
Going over their state.
When you get to the state tournament, but again, when you get over there, play to win. Don't be satisfied that you made it. Play to win.
Yeah,
don't get intimidated. Go in there and really, really go after it.
Games for Division 1 today, got Arrowhead versus Franklin, Nina versus Hartford. Division 2, Pewaukee versus West Salem, Wauwatosa East versus Notre Dame. It looks like those are, and then Division 5, Argyle Pecatonica. Thank you. Versus Albany Monticello. That's coming up in like a few minutes.
Yep.
Clear Lake and Lena after that. So that's your Division 5 matchups.
Let's look at that Division 1. All those schools are down from the southeastern corner of the state and over east. They really emphasize club basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And they play a lot of basketball over there, and it shows. They're very successful.
Absolutely. All right.
One of the teams that I'd like to know what's going on. Remember Rudolph?
Oh, yeah.
Always there. Always there. Always winning. They had a tradition of winning and winning and winning. And boy, they had a couple of brothers that were painters that sponsored all these youth teams, and they took them around and they played a lot of basketball.
Well, wasn't Greg Stietzman from Rudolph?
He was from Rudolph.
Mm-hmm.
But the last few years you haven't seen Rudolph in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if those guys have aged out, so to speak, gotten old. Maybe they passed away, but they had quite a system going there in Rudolph, and they got guys to even transfer in. They play with them, and they won a lot of tournament games.
Yep. I remember watching them on TV all the time.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
All right, Shot Clock's going to cut us off here in just a few minutes. So don't forget, you can now register, sign up your two-person team for the golf outing. It's in August 2nd, but we've already gotten double-digit signups. So make us your first tournament for the summer over there.
Well, that's 5 months away.
5 months away. Got to
You got to
pre-plan it.
You got to have a preseason tournament here before you get to the big one.
Hey. Training season starts now for the title belts.
There you go.
I've got Rocky playing.
When is that fight? The Mike Tyson thing?
July 20th.
Oh, that's not for a while. Nope. I thought it was this weekend.
I wish.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Have a good weekend, everybody. We'll be back at it again Monday, just past 6.
Turn your clocks ahead Saturday night.
That's right.